Chapter 44-48. Huge profound wave with majestic power. Countless illusory attacks formed a monstrous wave. Yiqing Luo took a look at Long Yunzhan and Tong Ziqing, who were blocked behind her. She couldn't shift her body. Otherwise, the two people behind her would have to bear the attacks from all directions. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned cold as she raised her right hand. A flame bloomed on her fingertips. A fiery feather fan appeared on her fingertips. Contrasting with those slender white fingers, it was extremely fair and beautiful. Swoosh! Everyone only heard an explosive sound in the air. Their eyes were covered by the sky full of raging flames. Bam! The earth quaked and the mountains shook. The violent energy directly collided with those cultivators' attacks. In midair, two powerful forces collided. Yiqing Luo's body slightly retreated 2 steps. Her face was slightly pale. But her fingertips exerted more force as she gripped the handle of the fan tightly. Facing these strong cultivators from Heaven Realm and various powerhouses, if it was one-on-one she wouldn't be so worried. But the other party was moving like a bee pupa. Just at this moment, a majestic aura rushed into the two forces. As the profound wave surged, the sky seemed to sweep out one after another whirlpool. That burst of force joined in. In an instant, a huge profound wave was produced, like layers upon layers of ripples, spreading in all directions. He easily suppressed all the attacks in the surroundings. The violent hurricane obediently stopped after coming into contact with the ripple-like undulations. The aftershock caused the group of cultivators who launched the attack to be jolted back 2 steps, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. And what was shocking was, after the rippling Xian wave shook off the countless Xian waves, it lingered around the girl in the fiery red dress. With the young lady as the center, it swept around the surroundings. It didn't go near the young lady at all. The group of cultivators who were injured were stunned. What kind of situation was this? Why didn't that unstoppable force attack Yiqing Luo? Damn, could it be that it depended on one's looks? No. Not right. Look at the sky. It's a 9-tailed fox. 9-tailed fox. Suddenly, cries of panic erupted from the crowd. Countless people subconsciously looked towards the sky. Then he saw the 9-tailed fox in the sky. His 9 tails swayed in the wind. It also shook the hearts of the crowd. 9-tailed fox. This was the 9-tailed fox that was known as the divine beast. In the entire world there was only one person who had it. That person was the mysterious and powerful person who was respectfully called Venerable Sovereign. The people from the various forces suddenly recalled the words of the Huangfu clan's young masters and ladies a few days ago. Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade? The tomb of the Divine Emperor. Must be true. That little bitch relied on this to attract Sir Dizun. If it wasn't for the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and the Divine Emperor's tomb, how could the dignified Dizun fall in love with a lowly trash from the lower domain? I was wondering why Lord Dizun would be with her. It must be because that little B** used the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and the Divine Emperor's tomb to seduce Lord Dizun. Similar words were said by the Huangfu family. At that time, there were quite a number of forces who gave up on the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and the Divine Emperor's tomb because of the Overlord. They had not expected that. Lord Dizun really appeared. In order to save a lady, he appeared. The crowd was even more certain that what the Huangfu family's young masters and ladies said was true. Update complete. Moi. My babies, now activate the double monthly votes mode. At the end of the month, those babies with monthly votes, love you guys. End of this chapter. Chapter 44-49. Under everyone's gaze. That 9-tailed fox slowly landed. Everyone also clearly saw the peerless figure sitting on the back of the 9-tailed fox. A man in a flowing purple robe was lazily leaning on the soft fur of the 9-tailed fox. His luxurious and majestic posture was filled with a domineering and sharp, strong aura. After the 9-tailed fox landed, the man moved slightly. It was like a sharp, unsheathed blade, emitting a terrifying evil aura. His peerlessly handsome face was cold and sharp, revealing a sharp and callous coldness. Everyone knew. The golden half-mask was the symbol of the Overlord. But now, even if the man didn't wear a mask, everyone was sure that this was the Overlord himself. Overlord. Everyone gasped. Facing this mysterious and noble man, there was an inexplicable feeling of fear in their hearts. Dmo Xian leaped down from the 9-tailed fox. His every move was noble and elegant. He didn't bother about these people in front of him, whose faces were perturbed or sunken. His gentle gaze fell on Yiqing Luo. His coquettish thin lips hooked up slightly, stretched out a hand towards the young lady's direction. Yiqing Luo sensed that the profound wave which was like a ripple was spreading in the surroundings. She already knew. This was Diamo Xian's move. Her eyes looked at her man without blinking. Her eyes were filled with excitement. Deep in her heart, she was extremely calm about Diamo Xian's strength. How strong was he? His strength had exceeded her expectations. This man was her man. Yiqing Luo's eyes were burning with unswerving determination, becoming more and more intense. The stronger her man was, the more excited she was. Her goal was to walk side by side with Diamo Xian. One day she would be able to achieve her wish. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up as she pounced towards the direction of Diamo Xian. The man held the young lady's slender wrist, and firmly brought the young lady into his arms. Yiqing Luo wrapped her arms around the man's waist and was about to speak. Suddenly a few rays of profound light flashed in front of her. Yiqing Luo's expression changed immediately. Ah Xian. She moved her 5 fingers, and the devouring flame fan swept up a hurricane, heading straight for the direction of the profound light. Someone actually took advantage of this moment to quietly make a move behind Diamo Xian's back. Bang, boom boom boom, the hurricanes collided and the profound light exploded, creating a cold and tyrannical airwave. It was like a huge mouth with its fangs and claws wide open, ready to swallow people. Diamo Xian clasped the young lady's waist tightly as he pulled her into his arms and leapt into the air. He sneered. His obsidian-like eyes were filled with a piercing coldness. His sleeves fluttered in the wind. A terrifying aura shot out from his sleeve. Ah! Several screams rang out. He didn't even have time to react. That aura had already landed in the direction where the mysterious light came from. More than 10 profound practitioners fell to the ground with a plop. More than 10 of them turned pale as they pointed at Diamo Xian in disbelief. He had just raised his hand. Suddenly, a look of intense pain appeared on his face. Following that, his body fell straight down. Someone stepped forward and touched the nose of the man who had fallen down. His face turned pale as he looked at the crowd. Dead, dead? Dead. Everyone's heart thumped. Their gazes turned towards Diamo Xian in unison. The man's cold aura, and the overbearing profound wave that no one dared to approach, made the man's noble and unattainable. Chapter 4450. This interlude made everyone stop the idea of sneak attacking the Overlord. For a moment the entire heaven border ridge fell into a dead silence. After a moment of silence, Yiqing Luo looked at the brothers below. She patted Diamo Xian's arm and looked at those brothers. No one opened their mouths. Diamo Xian understood what she meant as he released the hand which was around her waist. The young lady was like a flame as she landed on the ground. Following her footsteps, the broken stones and grass on the ground made a rustling sound. The crowd didn't move as they stared at Yiqing Luo's actions. But no one made a move. Yiqing Luo walked slowly to Long Yunzhan's side. She first pulled Tong Ziqing's wrist and took her pulse. After ascertaining that there was nothing serious, her fingertips touched her fingers and a bottle of pills was taken out as she passed it to Long Yunzhan. Qing Luo? Tong Ziqing's lips were still oozing blood and her usual cold eyes were sparkling. Yiqing Luo smiled at her. It's been hard on you guys. Take a rest and leave the rest to me and Xian. Her vision looked towards the side, standing on the same spot, staring at her in a daze as their eyes were burning with passion. Yiqing Luo walked towards them. Each of them took a pulse and were given a bottle of pills. Luckily Gui Wu, Ghost Thief and Zoamo were around. They only suffered external injuries and slightly more serious internal injuries. But it wasn't to the extent of incurable. Everyone, including Gui Wu and the other 2, confirmed their identities. She then heaved a sigh of relief. Your energy has recovered. Yan Xiaoyi looked at Yiqing Luo taking out bottles of pills from the profound phoenix ring as she was extremely excited. It was able to establish a connection with the profound phoenix ring. This represented that Yiqing Luo's energy had completely recovered. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as she smiled sweetly. Yes, so? Have a good rest. I still need you guys to fight alongside me. Little Qing Luo, aren't you worried? That they are interested in the things on you? Zomo's brows rose as his peach blossom eyes revealed a sense of ridicule. Yiqing Luo turned her head as her gaze swept past the few brothers beside her. After hearing Zomo's words, the expressions of the few of them became visibly tense. Kitty Lee's eyes widened as she punched Zomo's chest with her little claws. What nonsense are you talking about? How could we? I trust them. The girl's firm tone interrupted Kitty Lee's words. Her smile was brilliant, and her charming eyes curved into a long and narrow arc. They value me more than I value myself. Besides, if they really want me, I won't hesitate to offer them up with both hands. Qing Luo? The few of them were stunned by Yi Qing Luo's words. They knew. If Yi Qing Luo said it out, then it meant that this was indeed what she was thinking. He offered it with both hands, such a valuable item. She was actually willing to give it to them with both hands. The girl's smile was as beautiful as a painting. Like a warm current, it seeped into everyone's hearts. Their restless hearts calmed down in that instant. They looked at each other and smiled. The originally stiff, oppressive, and suffocating atmosphere. The group in the middle of the crowd was extremely relaxed and warm. The two completely different atmosphere blended together. The crowd only felt fear and trepidation. Chapter 44:51. Finally, someone could not hold it in any longer. He plucked up his courage and carefully looked at Diamo Xian. His voice trembled as he said, Lord Diamo Xian, could it be that you really want to obtain the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb? That person's words immediately caused everyone to turn their gazes toward that person. Who would have thought that someone would be so bold as to question the overlord directly? The profound practitioner who had been pushed out by his clan's leader also had an expression of wanting to cry, and he was so terrified that his entire body was trembling. However, due to the threatening gaze of the leader of the faction, he could only stare at him. That profound practitioner had no choice but to muster up his courage and speak again. Lord Di Zun, you are already a revered existence in the Heaven Realm, and your strength has already exceeded the scope of the Heaven Realm. Why don't you give us the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and the Divine Emperor's tomb? The man's voice was trembling non-stop. Every single word was trembling. Hearing this question, Yi Qing Luo, who was standing together with her brothers, raised her eyes slightly as she looked at that cultivator. Her long and narrow brows were sparkling with a biting cold glint. Yi Qing Luo's gaze was piercingly cold. That profound practitioner felt uncomfortable from the piercing gaze. He rubbed his hands together and said, Don't you want to know the answer? Don't you want to know why the Overlord is with you? I don't want to. Yi Qing Luo replied without hesitation. The expression on her face didn't change at all. Are you scared? The man was so nervous that his face turned red. Are you afraid that His Majesty's answer will hurt you? That's why you don't dare. When he asked this question, the leader of the faction had made up his mind to break the trust between the two of them. Regardless of whether the Overlord answered the question or not. Or answer the question. Yi Qing Luo would absolutely suspect Diamo Xian because of this. As long as Yi Qing Luo started to suspect Diamo Xian, the feelings between the two of them could not be shaken. Everyone prioritizes benefits above all else. Goading? Yi Qing Luo raised her brows as she laughed foolishly. Are you silly? Why should I trust a fool like you and suspect my own man? She wasn't stupid. And because of a single sentence from them, they had instigated discord between her and Diamo Xian. At their level, it was nothing compared to what he had encountered in the double-sided lake of the illusory heart. She had never suspected Diamo Xian at the double-sided lake. Not to mention now. That person's face turned red. The gaze of the master of power behind him was like a sharp knife, forcing him, urging him to act. Don't ask such rubbish. Yi Qing Luo's gaze slowly swept past the surrounding forces. The girl's black hair fluttered in the wind. Her fiery dress fluttered in the wind. There was a hint of indolence on that gorgeous face, and it was incomparably cold and elegant. Then, her pink lips moved slightly and she said word by word, What belongs to me, as long as Xian wants it, I will give it to him. This sentence was also a clear message to the crowd. Whether Diamo Xian wanted her Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade or not, as long as he asked, he would definitely give it to her. Don't talk about any other bullshit conspiracy theories. He didn't like it. Everyone's faces turned extremely ugly. He didn't expect this young girl to not play by the rules. At this moment, the purple-robed man suddenly moved and pulled the young girl into his arms. Her back was pressed against his chest. Scorching hot. The man lowered his eyes, his gaze was gentle and his voice was magnetic. Yes, Lil Luoer's things are also this lord's things. Chapter 44:52. His hand slowly circled to Yi Qing Luo's chest. Slender fingers pressed on her heart. The man's fingertips were gentle, the scorching touch passed through the robe to the skin. Yi Qing Luo slightly raised her head to look at him. Her face was reflected in the man's obsidian-like eyes. his thin lips lightly hooked. If this lord wants, just take it, right? As his voice fell, his slender fingers even gently flicked her heart, causing the young lady's petite body to tremble slightly. Yes. Yiqing Luo held his hand, her eyes firm, without any other emotions. Diamo Xian chuckled softly. The boiling hot chest behind her was also shaking up and down. This laugh, made by Mei, who was besieged by a group of people, couldn't help but burst out laughing. Yiqing Luo, you really think that the overlord has taken a liking to you? Ah. You still foolishly send yourself up. What's yours is his, he just wants to dig away your profound heart, Jade. You poor woman. Ha ha. Ah. The overlord doesn't love you, he doesn't love you at all. By Mei's sharp voice, straining her throat to laugh non-stop. Yiqing Luo. This girl must have been so agitated that she became stupid, right? But Diamo Xian's action, indeed, would cause others to misunderstand the meaning of his words. Probably. In the eyes of outsiders, Diamo Xian placed his hand on her profound heart jade. Wanted to dig away her profound heart jade? Yiqing Luo expressed. This guy was purely trying to take advantage of her. And it was openly taking advantage of her. Under Bai Mei's exaggerated laughter. Under everyone's suspicious gazes. Diamo Xian hugged the slender waist of the person in his arms tightly. His voice was clear but extremely dignified. So, she belongs to this lord, whoever dares to touch her, is going against this lord. When this sentence came out from Diamo Xian's mouth, the entire dense forest fell into a dead silence. Bai Mei, who was laughing crazily, stopped abruptly. Like a huge slap ruthlessly slapped on her face. Diamo Xian was simply. He was using his status to pressure everyone present. He wanted to become enemies with the entire world for Yiqing Luo. This sentence also successfully blackened the faces of several large forces at the front. Lord Dizun, we all know that your strength is extraordinary and you are an admirable hero. But, Lord Dizun, you're here alone today. Why do you have to ruin everyone's friendship for a woman? One of the leaders said with a cold expression. Diamo Xian's words had already expressed his attitude. If he didn't show up now, he would be dead. He was afraid that he would really silently agree to let Diamo Xian monopolize the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. All profound practitioners wanted to obtain divine objects. Everyone wanted to enter the Tianya Ridge. Every faction had lost more than half of their elites. Therefore, no one wanted to give up so easily. That faction leader's words were immediately met with agreement from several other faction leaders. Diamo Xian faintly glanced at the direction of the voice and replied expressionlessly, "This lord has never been a hero." That faction leader's face turned red from being choked. Yiqing Luo waved her glower flame fan impatiently. "Your words? Are you openly declaring war with my Xian? Since that's the case, then there's nothing more to say, let's fight directly." There was a type of person who wouldn't shed a tear until they saw the coffin. Did they think that they could suppress Diamo Xian with their numbers? And naive. Hurry up and read the latest updates. Download address, phone reading. Chapter 4453. Did her baby Xian look so easy to bully? Yi Lackey Qing Luo hugged her man's arm and pointed to the direction of the powerhouse who spoke earlier. Xian, kill him. The various powerhouses. She said it so arrogantly, directly provoking all the powerhouses. She actually pushed the overlord to make a move? They thought that she really had the guts to go against them. In the end, it was because of the overlord that she dared to be so arrogant. In the eyes of the powerhouses, Yiqing Luo's current action was just like a young lady who relied on the overlord to bully others. All of them looked at Yiqing Luo with even more disdain. The Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade on such a person was simply a waste of a treasure. But the overlord was obviously interested in that Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. If they really wanted to get the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, they must first get past the overlord. If it was just the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, most of the people present would probably back off. After all, for a piece of Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, they would become enemies with the overlord. Then there must be a hole in their brains. But Yiqing Luo not only had a piece of Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, and the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb. The Divine Emperor's tomb? As long as they could get the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, and open the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, there was a possibility that they could surpass all living things in this world. They could become the next emperor of divine emperors. By then, why would they be afraid of Diamo Xian? They couldn't just give up like this. Absolutely not. The greed and unwillingness in everyone's eyes were obvious to Yiqing Luo. Her pink lips curled up into an indecipherable cold arc. Dmo Shen's eyes were filled with adoration as he gazed at the lovely girl in his arms. His large palm gently caressed the young lady's hair as he spoke in a deep, magnetic voice. "All right. Just one word." The crowd instantly felt as though their hearts were beating a drum. Following that, they saw that godlike man gently placed the young lady beside the group of young men and ladies. After that, with a leap, he floated in midair. The shimmering and resplendent purple light swept across the sky in a graceful manner. Boom! A profound wave exploded with a loud rumble. The surging energy in the air began to surge violently. The sudden burst of power caused the people from the other factions to be stunned for quite some time before they reacted. He hurriedly called for people to defend. However, no matter how fast they moved, they were still unable to move. No matter how strong he was. When Dmo Shen's sleeves fluttered, the dark light filled the entire space. They were powerless to resist. The smell of blood and slaughter lingered in the air. As for the faction that had threatened them first, they were all shocked. The endless vortex opened its bloody mouth. Ah! A blood-curdling scream came from the vortex. That side, which was originally full of ambition, attempting to use the power of numbers to threaten Dmo Shen's forces, seemed to have seen the Grim Reaper, brandishing its scythe to reap lives. Slash after slash, he reaped their lives. The majestic Shen wave spread out majestically. The other forces quickly moved away to avoid it. The scene of him dodging in a flurry. It was like a slap landing on the face of the faction that was being swallowed by the vortex. Still thinking of relying on the power of numbers? Wasn't this, in an instant, whatever power was all gone? After the blood-curdling screams stopped. Only then did the surging vortex dissipate bit by bit. End of this chapter. Chapter 44-54. Earlier there were about 20 to 30 people standing in the air. Right now there was only a huge deep pit. And the remnant might rippled out, vibrating in the air. Not a single figure could be seen. That powerhouse's men were completely annihilated. Just one move. One move and an entire group of people disappeared. Everyone's hearts were beating like thunder, thumping non-stop. The moment Dmo Shen appeared. It was a show of strength, directly killing those cultivators who attempted to sneak an attack. Following that, because of a sentence from Yiqing Luo, striking again, it was another instant kill. Did he really not care that he would incur the wrath of the masses? Was he really not afraid that they would join forces with the three realms to deal with him? Everyone's hearts, at this moment, were completely stunned by Dmo Shen's unhesitant massacre. After Dmo Shen stopped, he turned around and returned to Yiqing Luo's side, pulling the young lady into his arms. His body was emitting a chilly aura. Yiqing Luo's arms circled around his waist as she smiled. "My man is so handsome." If she didn't kill the chicken to warn the monkey, those people totally had no idea what to do, and would only continue to harass them. They chose to be greedy. They chose to be greedy, to be the first bird to stick out. They should pay the price for their own choice. Dmo Shen rubbed the young lady's little head. "Let's go." Yiqing Luo nodded as she beckoned her brothers to leave. After the deaths of the two powerhouses, everyone's hearts were burning with anxiety as they wanted to stop them. But when they saw the huge deep pit, and the 10 over corpses by the side, they were so afraid that they didn't dare to move forward. They could only watch the group of people as they swaggered past in front of their eyes. The direction they were heading towards, the group of people who had surrounded them, couldn't help but shift their footsteps as they opened up a path. No matter how the surrounding people, no matter how resentful they were, or how many threatening gazes they shot at them, that group of people still obediently opened up a path for Yiqing Luo and her group. And just at this moment, a furious bellow rang. "Huang Fu Sheng, if you dare to follow her, you will no longer be a member of my Huang Fu family." This explosive bellow. Everyone was so shocked that they all looked in that direction. Not far away, a middle-aged man in his 40s walked out from a group of people. His eyes were filled with malice as he stared in the direction that the group had left. The man wore a navy blue brocade robe and looked dignified and noble. Everyone in the surroundings recognized the identity of the middle-aged man with a glance. The current patriarch of the Huangfu clan, Huangfu Zhangdong. Only then did everyone remember. Among Yiqing Luo's entourage, there was Huangfu family's young master who had just returned, Huangfu Sheng. The gazes everyone shot at Huangfu Zhangdong instantly became extremely complicated. Huangfu family's young master was in cahoots with Yiqing Luo's entourage. Didn't that mean that Huangfu family and Yiqing Luo's group were in cahoots? Perhaps, as long as they held the Huangfu family hostage, they could even threaten Huangfu Sheng and make him work for them. All of them had different thoughts in their minds, but they were all scheming for their own benefit. Huangfu Sheng, who had been stopped by this shout, slowly turned his head. His body was stiff. When he raised his eyes and looked at Huangfu Zhangdong, his expression was solemn and forbearing. Ah Xing. Gu Zixi hugged his arm with heartache, giving him the warmth that belonged to her. Huangfu Sheng's thin lips pursed tightly as he took a deep breath, shaking his head at Gu Zixi. Don't worry, those who don't care are of no importance. End of this chapter. Chapter 44-55. He didn't care. So no matter how the other party slandered him, it wouldn't affect him. But, did he really not care? Gu Zixi wanted to ask this question. But when she saw the young man's solemn face and solemn expression, in the end she swallowed her words. She knew Ah Xing better than anyone else. The only thing she could do was to stay by his side. Huangfu Xing met Huangfu Zhangdong's eyes indifferently. Looking at Huangfu Zhangdong's fierce expression, there was no emotion on his face. So, what do you want me to do? Huangfu Zhangdong actually felt a heavy pressure assaulting him with just a single glance from him. Huangfu Zhangdong's face darkened. He didn't want to admit that he was scared by a bastard. He snorted coldly. You are a member of my Huangfu clan. You should listen to the arrangements of the Huangfu clan. Hurry up and come back. Huangfu Xing chuckled softly. Huangfu Zhangdong's face darkened. What are you laughing at? Before Huangfu Xing could answer, a person walked out from the Huangfu clan's team. Father. That person was Huangfu Dongyu. He moved closer to Huangfu Zhangdong's ear and whispered a few words. Huangfu Zhangdong's eyes lit up. He immediately looked at Huangfu Sheng. Huangfu Sheng, I heard that you have a close relationship with the first miss of the Gu residence. Since that's the case, you will represent the Huangfu clan and ask the first miss of the Gu residence to reveal the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb to the public. He was also a smart person. He didn't ask Huangfu Sheng to quietly tell the Huangfu clan about the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, because he knew that he and Huangfu Sheng had always been at odds. Huangfu Sheng wouldn't listen to him. He said this now just to guide the firepower of those forces to Huangfu Sheng. It was also to announce his attitude to those forces. As expected, when Huangfu Zhangdong said this, the eyes of the people from the surrounding forces burned with a strong flame of greed. They all looked at Huangfu Sheng. You. Gu Zixi was so angry that her face turned red. She wanted to scold Huangfu Zhangdong for being despicable and shameless. Her small hand was held by Huangfu Sheng. Huangfu Sheng squeezed her palm. Gu Zixi bit her lips hard and declared her emotions with her eyes. Huangfu Sheng was much calmer. He indifferently looked at Huangfu Changdong, then at Huangfu Dongyu's complacent smile. It's not impossible to know the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb. Huangfu Zhangdong's expression instantly froze. The smile on Huangfu Dongyu's face froze. Two pairs of eyes stared at him in disbelief. Huangfu Sheng was actually willing to help them find out the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb? Then why did he just say, make it public? To hell with making it public. As long as he could obtain the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, their Huangfu clan would definitely be able to suppress the Heaven Realm's 4 great clans. Why would they still need to be one of the 4 great clans? They were unique existences that everyone revered. When Huangfu Zhangdong recalled what he said earlier about making it public, he really wanted to give his eldest son a slap. Huangfu Dongyu naturally felt his father's anger. He had not expected that Huangfu Sheng would choose to betray Yiqing Luo for the Huangfu family's status. He put on a black face and pretended to appease his father. Father, he might have said this on purpose and then purposely raised some conditions which you are unable to fulfill, so as to force you to back off. Huangfu Zhangdong's face sunk as he looked at Huangfu Dongyu. Then he looked at Huangfu Sheng and asked sternly, what request do you have? End of this chapter. Chapter 44-56. Huangfu Sheng said word by word, I want you to bring my mother's memorial tablet back to Huangfu Ancestral Hall. He only found out after he returned to Huangfu family. Because his mother left with his father and after she died, even the memorial tablet wasn't allowed to enter Huangfu family. In addition to that, his father committed suicide by drowning himself in the river because of the treasure-gathering auction house. Not to mention protecting his mother's memorial tablet. For so many years, his mother's memorial tablet was secretly placed in his own courtyard by his grandfather. Even if his mother had never thought of returning to Huangfu family. But now he was back. Here there was a piece of place which belonged to his mother. Hearing Huangfu Sheng's request, Huangfu Zhangdong's expression congealed and turned extremely ugly. Huangfu Dongyu immediately sneered, "It's easy for you to think. It was your mother who left Huangfu family with a wild man. From the moment she left, she wasn't fit to be a member of Huangfu family. You're just a bastard and you want to bring your mother's memorial tablet back to Huangfu family? Next request, is it the position of Huangfu family's patriarch?" Huangfu Dongyu understood his father's thinking very well. Because he valued the position of patriarch too much. Huangfu Zhangdong couldn't even trust his own son wholeheartedly. He naturally understood how to provoke Huangfu Zhangdong's disgust and disgust towards Huangfu Sheng. As expected. When Huangfu Zhangdong heard his eldest son's words, his expression and gaze became extremely sharp. On the other side, after seeing the Huangfu family's people appear, someone's mood was obviously not right. Especially after hearing Huangfu Zhangdong's words. That person's mood was even more intense. Yiqing Luo glanced at the people in the crowd and raised her slender brows slightly, not intending to go over. In response to her, there was only silence. Yiqing Luo retracted her gaze and didn't say another word. Even friends had no right to comment on this kind of matter. After all, she didn't know what had happened back then. "Qing Luo, aren't you worried that he will really ask you about the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb?" Tong Ziqing wasn't too familiar with Huangfu Sheng. "He won't." Yiqing Luo raised her brows. "He has really grown a lot. If it was the previous Pei Sheng, how could he possibly dare to face the might of Huangfu Zhangdong's family head?" Looking at the smile on Yiqing Luo's lips, Tong Ziqing tactfully did not speak again. From Yiqing Luo's eyes she could tell. Huangfu Sheng was also a friend whom she, Yiqing Luo, recognized. Since he was someone Qing Luo had set her eyes on, they would also believe him unconditionally. "If he doesn't tell me your secret, that person won't let him go." A cold and tense voice came from behind. Qiao Jin's face was ice cold, his expression tense and somewhat strangely terrifying. Yan Shaoyi gently held his arm, her expression helpless, and could only comfort him silently. Since he dared to say that, he must have thought of a countermeasure. Yiqing Luo wasn't worried at all. "If Huangfu Zhangdong doesn't let us Sheng off as his cousin, you will also step forward, isn't that so?" Perhaps it was the word cousin that caused Qiao Jin to be startled. He opened his mouth to retort, but his words were stuck in his throat. His expression became increasingly unsightly. Yiqing Luo only curled her lips, and following that her gaze fell back onto Huangfu Sheng. Huangfu Sheng still maintained a calm attitude as towards Huangfu Dongyu's slander. He couldn't be bothered to explain anything. He only waited quietly for Huangfu Zhangdong's reply. "Update complete, my babies, Happy New Year." This was the third New Year that Master Mo and everyone had crossed. From 2016 to 2017, from 2017 to 2018. Now from 2018, let's cross over to 2019. I hope that in 2020, we can continue to meet Master Mo's new book, Hedonist Profound Musician, Evil Lord, Don't Flirt, and continue to cross the new year together. To be able to gain your love is my lifetime's honor. Love you, my Mo family heirlooms. End of this chapter. Chapter 4457. And such a silence. It made those who were still waiting for the answer, how would they have the mood to wait for both of them to remain silent? What happened to announcing it to the public? At once they couldn't help but urged. Isn't it just a spirit tablet? Sending it to the ancestral hall in exchange for the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, why not? Patriarch Huangfu, surely you're not willing to let him tell us the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, so you're doing this on purpose? Patriarch Huangfu, you're not being kind. It's you who asked him to reveal the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb to the public, but now you're not willing? Are you making fun of us? Everyone addressed him as you, but from their attitude there wasn't a single bit of respect towards him. Huangfu Zhangdong's face flushed red from the crowd's words. He clenched his teeth as he snapped, "All right. As long as you tell me the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, I can agree to your request." He intentionally paused for a moment when he interrupted his sentence. The glint in his eyes was obviously hinting to Huangfu Sheng. He wanted Huangfu Sheng to come up with an excuse to fool the other forces, and to quietly tell him the real answer. But apparently, Huangfu Sheng didn't understand his intention. He curled his thin lips as he looked at the crowd, Everyone should have heard Patriarch Huangfu's words clearly. As long as I tell you the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, Patriarch Huangfu will take my mother's token and enter the Huangfu Ancestral Hall. Right. We can all testify. Don't worry, Patriarch Huangfu won't dare to lie to you. Hurry up and say it. Don't keep us guessing. The group of people urged him on. Huangfu Zhangdong's eyes widened bit by bit. His fingers clenched into a fist shape nervously. Huangfu Sheng looked back at Yiqing Luo who was behind him, meeting the young lady's smiling encouraging gaze. His flustered heart suddenly calmed down. He closed his eyes as his lips curled up tightly, his eyes looking at Huangfu Zhangdong indifferently as he said word by word, "The secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, didn't Luo say it very clearly earlier?" "Sir." "By Mei from the Dark Shadow Palace who took away the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb." Huangfu Sheng raised his hand and pointed at Bai Mei. "I'm guessing that the Palace of Gloomy Darkness wants to use Luo to attract your attention, and then secretly study the secrets of the Emperor God's tomb." What Huangfu Sheng said was true. But Huangfu Zhangdong's face instantly darkened. What kind of answer was that? They all knew that Bai Mei had stolen the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb. The same words Yiqing Luo had already said it once earlier. As if he had seen through Huangfu Zhangdong's thoughts, Huangfu Sheng said indifferently, "Luo did say that, but you don't believe it." "If you don't believe it, there's nothing I can do." If it was only Yiqing Luo who said that, they really didn't believe it. Moreover, when the group of people attacked Bai Mei and searched her body, they did not find anything related to the Divine Emperor's tomb. But now Huangfu Sheng was repeating the same thing in this situation. Everyone could not help but suspect Bai Mei. "You're in cahoots with Yiqing Luo, that slut. You're talking rubbish." Bai Mei screamed hysterically. What she had experienced earlier had already made her suffer humiliation. Those people's hands kept wandering around her body. And some of them were not searching for the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb at all. They were purely taking advantage of her. Chapter 44-58. In front of Dmo Xian. How could she endure this? Bai Mei didn't even think about it. No matter what happened to her, Dmo Xian's gaze was not on her at all, so how would he notice what she had experienced? Bai Mei was retreating as she frantically pointed at the surroundings, at the people who were eyeing them covetously. "The secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb is on Yiqing Luo, don't believe their nonsense." However, her words were not persuasive at all. As he retreated into the territory of a team. "Ah!" Bai Mei screamed. His body was lifted up by a person. "But where did you put it? What is the purpose of the Dark Shadow Palace? Everything is said by the Dark Ghost Palace. Is this a conspiracy of the Dark Ghost Palace? Abysmal Palace still wants to use us? Who do you think you are? Hand over the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb." Even though Bai Mei looked pitiful and begged for mercy, the people from the various factions did not have any protective feelings for the fairer sex. Once they obtained the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, they were above everyone else. What kind of woman couldn't he get? Why should he take pity on this broken shoe? The scene was chaotic. Huangfu Zhangdong looked at the distance between him and Bai Mei and glared at Huangfu Sheng angrily. Immediately after, he summoned the forces of the Huangfu family and rushed towards Bai Mei's direction. That impatient movement. This made Huangfu Sheng twitch his lips in disdain. "Sheng?" Gu Zixi stretched out her hands and wrapped them around his waist. She raised her head and stared deeply into Huangfu Sheng's face. She smiled gently and warmly. "I will always be here." The cold lines on Huangfu Sheng's face slowly softened. He gently stroked Gu Zixi hair and looked into her eyes. The cold air that was being emitted from his body also gradually subsided. This scene fell into the eyes of the crowd not far away. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up as she looked behind her with a smile that didn't look like a smile. "Your little cousin is lucky to have met a good lady, so you don't have to worry." "Who's worried about him?" Xiao Jin coldly snorted. Yiqing Luo's gaze slid downwards as she looked at Yan Xiaoyi who was standing beside Xiao Jin. His gaze fell on their intertwined fingers. The corners of her lips curled up into a gorgeous smile. "You're lucky to have met a good girl." They were talking and laughing. Yiqing Luo suddenly felt that the man beside her had some changes in his emotions. She glanced sideways at Dmo Xian. "What's wrong?" The man's expression was cold, and there was a hint of anger in his eyes. The girl turned to look at him. The look in his eyes had become gentle and unique to her. "What's the matter?" Yiqing Luo raised her hand and touched his face as she repeated that sentence. Dmo Xian lifted his hand. His purple robe fluttered like flowing clouds, and a wisp of white shadow could be vaguely seen swaying. Before Yiqing Luo had the chance to ask, Dmo Xian's expression revealed some unkind intentions. Pursing his thin lips, he bent down slowly and kissed her lips. Then he headed in the direction of the chaotic crowd. That was the direction of Bai Mei from the Palace of Darkness. There weren't many people from the Dark Nether Palace who came this time. The surrounding large powerhouses had long gone crazy over the so-called secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb. How could the Dark Nether Palace's disciples stop them? It could be said that Bai Mei had been abused so badly that it was unbearable to watch. She was almost on her last breath. And on her body, there was nothing related to the Divine Emperor's tomb. Chapter 44-59. The people of the major forces were also anxious. The more anxious they were, the more irritable they became. His actions became more and more crude. "You bitch, are you toying with us? Hurry up and hand it over. Your father has no interest in wasting time with you." Unable to bear it any longer, one of the faction leaders was so furious that his veins bulged. He had his doubts. Could it be that Huangfu family's young master had joined forces with Yiqing Luo to make fun of them? Pa! In the chaos, something creased Bai Mei's face. Then a thin layer of human skin peeled off from Bai Mei's face. Bai Mei's face became extremely sinister and terrifying. F***ck. Ugly monster. Scared me to death. Someone was startled by Bai Mei's face. After cursing, she slapped Bai Mei's face with her palm. The people from the various forces who were too close to Bai Mei also felt a chill run down their spines when they saw her horrifying mangled face. Especially when he thought about how he had purposely taken advantage of that ugly monster just now. He suddenly felt a chill in his heart. He could not find the slightest clue regarding the Divine Sovereign's tomb on her. He was disgusted again. Killing intent immediately surged in the hearts of many profound practitioners. He just wanted to kill this disgusting and ugly monster. This thought came to mind. Several palm winds filled with murderous intent shot out. Bai Mei screamed in despair. Just when she thought she was going to die, suddenly a profound wave attacked. She pushed away all the people from the major forces who had surrounded her. Bai Mei was still in a state of shock. She opened her eyes and looked over. She saw a shimmering purple figure standing in front of her. Bai Mei's eyes widened. Master Overlord. She was so happy that tears almost flowed out of her eyes. The Overlord had saved her. The Overlord had saved her. What did that mean? This meant that the Sovereign actually had feelings for her. Di Zun did not want her to die. However, the next moment, a white shadow appeared in Bai Mei's eyes. The illusory figure pounced directly at her face. Bai Mei's expression suddenly turned to one of horror. "You..." The words were not spoken in time. His words stopped abruptly. His entire body stiffened and fell to the ground. After Bai Mei fell to the ground, Dmo Xian merely flicked his sleeves and directly brought him to the side of Yiqing Luo and the others. Following that, he returned to Yiqing Luo's side. Dmo Xian's sudden action. The group of people looked at him in confusion. Why did Di Zun save Bai Mei? Bai Mei was a clown who kept circling around Yiqing Luo's side. Yiqing Luo also had the same question. Of course, she would not say that she suspected that there was something between Dmo Xian and Bai Mei. She was just curious as to why he would do that. Did it have anything to do with the sudden change in his mood? Facing Yiqing Luo's curious gaze, Dmo Xian looked down at her. "Want to know why I saved her?" Yiqing Luo tilted her head and suddenly stretched out her hand, pressing on his arm. "What do you have here?" She was extremely fast. His 5 fingers accurately grasped a piece of white jade in his sleeve. It was extremely cold to the touch. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. Just as he was about to ask, that piece of white jade shook violently. Then a white shadow floated out of the white jade. That figure seemed like it was going to dissipate with the wind. Yiqing Luo frowned, and after identifying for a long time, she spoke with uncertainty. "Bai Su." Chapter 44-60. Yes, Bai Su. That white jade pendant was Bai Su. Yiqing Luo seemed to have seen a white shadow in Dmo Xian's sleeves. She didn't expect it to be Bai Su. Yiqing Luo expressed, how did it feel to know that her man was carrying another woman with him? Well, she really didn't know how to describe this feeling. After all, the other party was Bai Su. To Dmo Xian, he was a senior that he respected. Bai Su would be here. It was not difficult for Yiqing Luo to understand the reason why Dmo Xian took action. Presumably, Bai Su would place her soul on a piece of white jade for Dmo Xian to bring to the heavenly realm. Was for Bai Mei. Bai Mei was her only sister. I'm sorry. Bai Su's illusory figure was a little gloomy, as if a gust of wind would blow it away. I didn't mean to make things difficult for you, but I can't watch her make mistakes again and again. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. She has made enough mistakes. I know. Bai Su hurriedly said, I don't expect you to forgive her, but she has already become like this. It is already the cruelest punishment. You should be very clear that everything she has done, even if she dies 100 times, she can't pay for it. Yiqing Luo's voice was a little cold. In order to maintain her beauty, how many young girls has she killed? How many girls' faces have she peeled off? Bai Su was speechless. Of course she knew. Bai Mei's sins could not be washed away. I have already given her a chance at the balance historian. Yiqing Luo opened her mouth again, and the price of this opportunity is that she repeatedly made use of the people around me to hurt me, colluding with the people from Gloomy Palace to deal with me, and countless young ladies' blood. Bai Su, you can't ask me to let Bai Mei off just because Ah Xian respects you. This is unfair to me, unfair to the people around me, unfair to those who have died. Yiqing Luo was very clear how much Dmo Xian was struggling in his heart. She deliberately pushed Bai Mei out. It was to use other people's hands to get rid of Bai Mei. She had also considered Bai Su's relationship. But she didn't expect that Bai Su would personally come to the heavenly realm. So, she pushed Bai Mei out. Dmo Xian understood what she was thinking. I don't want her to be disappointed. Under Bai Su's pleading, he had no choice but to help. Yiqing Luo was angry for Dmo Xian. Bai Su's soul became fainter and fainter. As though he was unable to face Yiqing Luo's questions. Her figure had already dimmed and disappeared into thin air. Yiqing Luo took a look at Bai Mei, who had her eyes shut and retracted her vision. Angry? Dmo Xian circled her waist and rested his chin on her shoulder. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. If it were you, wouldn't you be angry? Dmo Xian sighed. I know, so, you can totally kill her. Bai Su will not blame you. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at him. Bai Su has already done so much. If I really kill Bai Mei, wouldn't that be too heartless? She paused, and her voice suddenly became serious. However, it's up to her whether she wants to live or not. Dmo Xian's thin lips brushed past her skin. All that was left was a ball of scorching heat. He chuckled softly, his eyes full of tenderness. He naturally knew. The words that Yiqing Luo said earlier. All of them were standing on his side, speaking up for him. Is little Luo, or was really very cute? Chapter 4461. Was a farce. The people from the surrounding forces were all stunned on the spot. Originally they thought that Bai Mei was intentionally used by Yiqing Luo to tease them. But Dizun had saved Bai Mei. At that moment the crowd began to imagine endlessly. Could it be that the item was really with Bai Mei? Otherwise why would Dizun make a move? They actually didn't manage to find it. Damn slut. Damn Abyss Palace. On the other side, Huangfu Jiangdong's expression was practically dark to the extreme. A bastard was indeed a bastard. He would only side with outsiders. Such a person wasn't fit to be a member of the Huangfu clan. Father, that bastard doesn't know how to think for the Huangfu family. Huangfu Dongyu knew very well what his father was thinking. I wonder why grandfather wants to bring him back to the Huangfu family. Huangfu Jiangdong's eyes were gloomy. Huangfu Dongyu persisted. Father, he has a close relationship with Yiqing Luo. That time in the Earth realm, it was Yiqing Luo who added fuel to the fire, hence grandfather valued Pei Xing so much. I'm guessing, could all these be Yiqing Luo's conspiracy? She wants to make use of Pei Xing to deal with our Huangfu family? After all, he had been a son for more than 20 years. As soon as these words came out, that was to directly stab Huangfu Jiangdong's heart. Huangfu Jiangdong looked at Huangfu Sheng with eyes full of resentment. Father, why don't we take this opportunity to expel Pei Xing from the Huangfu family? He was the one who chose to leave with Yiqing Luo in front of everyone. Even if grandfather knew about it, he can't blame us. Huangfu Dongyu took the opportunity to come up with an idea. Initially, Huangfu Dongyu didn't care about Pei Xing. Because of a bastard, a weak and cowardly man. Even with his grandfather's support, there was no need to take it to heart. However, after Pei Xing arrived at the Huangfu clan, in just half a month he had subdued the hearts of the entire Huangfu family. He had also stabilized his position in the Huangfu family. This made Huangfu Dongyu, the young master of the Huangfu clan and the future successor, feel uneasy. He had a feeling that Pei Xing's appearance would change their Huangfu clan. This premonition plus the relationship between Pei Xing and Yiqing Luo. Huangfu Dongyu viewed Pei Xing as a thorn in his side. Now he finally had a chance to get rid of Pei Xing. Of course he had to seize this opportunity, in front of all the major forces. He had tricked the Huangfu clan in the public. Moreover, he took the initiative to follow Yiqing Luo. Even if Huangfu Jintian wanted to blame someone, it wouldn't be him. Huangfu Zhangdong also had the same thought. Bai Mei had already been brought to the other side by Diamo Xian. The crowd naturally did not dare to ask Diamo Xian for him. After Huangfu Zhangdong called his men back, Huang Xiaolong's expression changed. He displayed his patriarch's prestige as he looked at Huangfu Xing with a solemn and cold expression. Pei Xing, whatever divine emperor's tomb secret, you and Yiqing Luo colluded together, right? He sneered and glanced at Bai Mei, who was lying on the ground with her eyes closed. How could an abandoned pawn of the Palace of Gloomy Shadows get the secrets of the divine emperor's tomb? From what I see, the secret of the divine emperor's tomb, right from the start, is on Yiqing Luo, right? Huangfu Xing's expression was calm, and he didn't feel the slightest bit of displeasure from Huangfu Zhangdong calling him Pei Xing. What you want to know, I've already said it. Whether you believe it or not, it's your problem, it has nothing to do with me. But the thing that you promised me, please do it. The fastest update speed, hurry up and read it. Download address, cell phone reading. Chapter 4462. Huangfu Sheng's words paused slightly. The corners of his lips curled into a faint arc. His gaze was like a torch as it met Huangfu Zhangdong's eyes. I think the dignified patriarch of the Huangfu family would not do that. Go back on his words, right? Before Huangfu Zhangdong could give Huangfu Xing a rebuke, he was so infuriated by these words that he almost threw up blood. Pei Xing, what contributions have you made for the Huangfu family? Even now, you obviously have a close relationship with Yiqing Luo, but you still didn't fight for the Huangfu family's benefits. Huangfu Dongyu comforted Huangfu Zhangdong as he spoke on behalf of him. What right do you have to move your mother's memorial tablet to the Huangfu Ancestral Hall? You don't have the right, and neither does your mother. Huangfu Dongyu. Huangfu Sheng's indifferent mood was suddenly broken at this moment. His eyes were filled with rage. Sheng. Gu Zishi hurriedly hugged Huangfu Sheng's arm to prevent him from getting angry. What Huangfu Sheng couldn't tolerate was the Huangfu family's people commenting on his mother. This was his reverse scale. And Huangfu Dongyu obviously knew about this. He intentionally brought it up at this moment. He wanted to infuriate Huangfu Sheng. If Huangfu Sheng really flew into a rage and did something irreversible, this would only fall into Huangfu Dongyu's trap. What a joke. A desperate woman who wanted to marry an outsider, slept with a wild man, and while the family was busy with the war, she secretly left the family with the wild man. This kind of woman also wants to enter our Huangfu family's ancestral hall? The more Huangfu Dongyu spoke, the more outrageous his words were. You, this bastard, have no right to become a Huangfu family's member, not to mention your shameless mother. Bam! A loud slap resounded through the entire Qinya Ridge, like a sudden clap of thunder. Huangfu Dongyu's body flew out directly, crashing heavily onto the ground. Dongyu? Huangfu Zhangdong looked at his eldest son, like a kite with a broken string, crashing heavily onto the ground. He cried out in shock and immediately called for someone to help him up. When Huangfu Dongyu was carried over, Huangfu Zhangdong saw the obvious palm print on his face. Pei Xing. Huangfu Zhangdong was angered to the point his eyes turned scarlet red, and he glared fiercely at Huangfu Sheng. This bastard actually dared to touch his son in front of him. He really did not put him, the current patriarch, in his eyes. Now he even dared to be so bold. Would it be in the future? They even wanted to usurp his position as the family head. Huangfu Sheng was also dumbfounded by this scene. He admitted. Huangfu Dongyu's words just now, it had already provoked him. He was indeed furious. He clearly knew that Huangfu Dongyu was deliberately provoking him, but he still couldn't help but want to attack Huangfu Dongyu. However, he was held tightly by Gu Zishi. There was no chance for him to make a move. If he forcefully made a move, he would definitely hurt Gu Zishi. There was no need for him to hurt the woman he loved just to beat up a scumbag. Therefore, who was the one who taught Huangfu Dongyu a lesson? Huangfu Sheng subconsciously looked towards Yiqing Luo. But he saw Yiqing Luo leaning in Diamo Shen's arms, with a carefree look on her face. It wasn't Yiqing Luo. Then who could it be? Huangfu Zhangdong, I didn't expect that after so many years, you still haven't changed at all. The cold and deep voice in this silence was extremely clear to the ears. The fastest update speed. Hurry up and read it. Download address, phone reading. Chapter 4463. That voice was as cold as ice. As though it was wrapped in ice-cold frost. Not a single trace of emotion could be heard from it. Immediately following that, a tall and straight figure walked out from behind Yiqing Luo. That was an 18 to 19-year-old young man, dressed in black, and his imposing manner wasn't weak at all. But that young man's face was unprepossessing. Especially that pair of eyes which resembled a wild beast. When it swept past Huangfu Zhangdong, it was like a prey which had been targeted by a wild beast. There is a kind of creepy feeling. That young man could be said. In Yiqing Luo's group, each of them were as beautiful as flowers, outstanding and outstanding. He was a different kind of existence. Especially since right from the start till the end, there was an innocent and harmless, mischievous and beautiful lady who stuck beside him. The surrounding large forces had some impression of this young man. But even if the young man's looks were unprepossessing, but when he stood in that group, he didn't feel out of place. Previously they hadn't noticed it. Now when they walked out alone, the imposing manner which the young man was emitting was comparable to many of the large forces present. What are you? How dare you call Patriarch Huangfu by his name? Huangfu family's guard berated him sternly. Huangfu Zhangdong's brows creased tightly as he stared deadly at the young man. That face was extremely unfamiliar. But that pair of eyes. He was very familiar. Earlier the voice and tone was so familiar that it made him. Huangfu Zhangdong's expression suddenly turned cold. Huangfu Jin. He was practically gritting his teeth as he spat out these three words. Huangfu Jin? Huangfu Dongyu, who was on the verge of fainting after hearing this name. His entire being awoke. He pressed the wrist of the person who was supporting him tightly as he endured the pain in his body and looked over there. His gaze fell upon that unprepossessing, ordinary-looking young man. His pupils abruptly widened. Fifth brother? The young man, who was Qiao Jin's attitude towards the both of them, revealed a cold smile. Why? So shocked to see me? Did you think that in this lifetime I would never be able to return? His tone was filled with ridicule. No. How could you? Huangfu Dongyu opened his mouth and pulled the swollen muscles on his face, causing him to salivate from the pain. It's you who hit me. Qiao Jin cast a disdainful glance at him. Huangfu Zhangdong won't teach you how to behave, so I'll teach you what it means to respect your elders. He snorted coldly and continued, Huangfu Sheng is my cousin, and his mother is Huangfu Zhangdong's younger sister, which is also your aunt. Who taught you as a junior to insult your elders like this? Then who taught you? As a son, how dare you call your father by his name? Huangfu Zhangdong's furious voice interrupted him. Son. Qiao Jin's eyes were filled with ridicule. 10 years ago, didn't you expel me from the Huangfu clan and remove my name from the clan records? Huangfu Zhangdong was both furious and shocked. His face flushed red while his chest rose and fell violently. Qiao Jin didn't care about his thoughts at all. He calmly and indifferently emphasized, Now my name is Qiao Jin. Huangfu Jin died 10 years ago. This series of episodes. It caused the people from the surrounding forces to be a little dumbfounded. What kind of situation was this now? Weren't they here to snatch the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and find out the secrets of the Divine Emperor's tomb? Why did it become a drama now, a family scandal? Hurry up and read the latest update. Download address, phone reading. Chapter 4464. They weren't interested. They only wanted the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and the secrets of the Divine Emperor's tomb. Wasn't the style changing a little too fast? However, this Huangfu clan was truly strange. One was young Master Huangfu, who had just been brought back by the old patriarch. The other was the son that the current patriarch Huangfu had personally acknowledged. Both of them actually had a close relationship with Yiqing Luo. This level of secrecy had almost reached the level of the degree of intimate friendship. He didn't even know how to make good use of such a relationship? Was the Huangfu family stupid? On the contrary, he even spoke ill of those two? Could it be, this must be a conspiracy? He was deliberately putting on a show in front of them. Following that, he quietly helped the Huangfu family to find out news regarding the God Emperor's tomb from Yiqing Luo or the Overlord. In the minds of the crowd, a large number of conspiracy theories immediately popped up. All of them were guessing, after leaving the Tianya Rich. He sent his men to surround the Huangfu family. Who cares if it's one of the 4 great clans? Nothing was more important than the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb. As for the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, could the Overlord protect Yiqing Luo all day long? As long as they caught the chance of Yiqing Luo being alone. Why would he be afraid of not being able to handle a little girl? In any case, when the time came, it would all depend on their own abilities. And, even if His Majesty pursued the matter, so many people wanted to obtain the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. How would the Overlord know who was the one who made a move against Yiqing Luo? Thinking like this, the people of the major forces decided to retreat now. Di Zun was here to hold the fort. It would be a waste of time for them to stay here. Look at Di Zun's attitude of exterminating an entire clan at the slightest disagreement. They must be stupid to think of using their numbers to fight against the Di Zun. As a result, when Huangfu Zhangdong and Qiao Jin were confronting each other, the people of the major forces dispersed in an uproar. Yiqing Luo, Dmo Xian, the group, didn't they want to snatch the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade? Didn't they want to gang up on her and snatch the secrets of the Divine Emperor's tomb? Why did he give up so quickly? They had sacrificed so many elites to climb to the inner region of the Qinya Ridge. Was he willing to give up so easily? She had painstakingly recovered her strength, but she hadn't had the time to do anything yet. Couldn't they fight and then retreat? All she wanted was a fight. I just want to be defeated. No matter how Yiqing Luo howled in her heart. The originally crowded Qinya Ridge was filled with people as far as the eye could see. In just a moment, it became empty again. More and more people were leaving. On Huangfu Zhangdong's side, his heart was beating faster and faster. When they were the only ones left in the Qinya Ridge, they were the only ones left. Huangfu Zhangdong felt a chill run down his spine. Could it be that unfilial son, Huangfu Jin, was planning to take this opportunity to get the Overlord to get rid of the Huangfu family? Huangfu Zhangdong wanted to lead his men away. However, when he met Qiao Jin's mocking gaze, Huangfu Sheng was calm and indifferent, as though he was looking down at him from above. Huangfu Dongyu's low groans of pain could also be heard. He simply couldn't lift his feet to leave. If he left with the crowd, if word of this got out, their Huangfu clan would lose all face. Furthermore, letting Huangfu Jin and Pei Xing off so easily, it would only make the both of them join forces and become even more arrogant. Huangfu Jin was back. Huangfu family was going to be in turmoil. He absolutely would not allow the position which belonged to him to be snatched away by others. Even if that person was his son, it was still the same. The fastest update speed. Hurry up and read it. Download address, cell phone reading. Chapter 4465. In particular, what happened back then must not be discovered. Huangfu Zhangdong's eyes shot out a treacherous cold light. But Qiao Jin completely ignored his thoughts. He grabbed Huangfu Sheng's arm and said, "Let's go." Huangfu Sheng was confused. He looked at Qiao Jin in astonishment. He hadn't had the time to digest the conversation between him and Huangfu Zhangdong. Qiao Jin was Huangfu Zhangdong's son? Qiao Jin was Huangfu Jin? The two of them are cousins? What kind of godly development was this? Huangfu Sheng was still in a dazed state as he obediently allowed Qiao Jin to pull him back to where Yiqing Luo and the others were. Yiqing Luo looked at his dazed look in ridicule as she couldn't help but laughed. "Haven't regained your senses yet? You knew about it long ago?" Huangfu Sheng looked at Yiqing Luo in a daze. Yiqing Luo shot a glance at Qiao Jin. "I indeed knew his identity very early on." Yiqing Luo's words had just landed. Long Yunzhan's indifferent voice rang out. "I didn't expect that. Jin Zi was actually someone from the heaven realm. After such a long time, he actually didn't tell us. They had been together for so many years. They had experienced so many life and death situations together. Only today did he know Qiao Jin's true identity." Qiao Jin raised his eyebrows and replied calmly, "You didn't tell anyone that you're a dragon, did you?" "Same here." Long Yunzhan. In their devil class in the World Mercenary Group, just how many people were there and how many secrets were they hiding? Alright, let's talk about acknowledging relatives after we leave Tianya Ridge. Yiqing Luo lazily leaned into Dmo Shen's arms. "Let's go." No one had any objections. During the few days in the Tianya Ridge, they couldn't wait to leave this place. In such a place they couldn't sleep or eat. They were always on tenterhooks and worried. He could finally heave a sigh of relief. Although those large powerhouses in the outside world were still eyeing Yiqing Luo covetously. However, Di Zun was still here. It was more or less able to suppress some ambitious but cowardly people. As for those with ambition and courage, they came forward to serve as cannon fodder to warn the others. The group of people were having fun. He walked towards the exit of the Tianya Ridge. He had completely disregarded the Huangfu clan. It was an extremely relaxed conversation. This caused Huangfu Jiangdong's expression to become even darker and more terrifying. This group of brats didn't even put him or the entire Huangfu clan in their eyes. Allowing the two bastards of the Huangfu family to strut around in front of him and then leave so easily? Huangfu Jin. Beixing. Stop right there. Huangfu Changdong shouted with a grim voice that was filled with rage. The two of them who were walking side by side stopped at the same time. They looked at each other. After that, they simultaneously looked at Huangfu Jiangdong. I solemnly warn you on behalf of the Huangfu family. If you leave with her today, the two of you will be completely erased from the Huangfu family. Neither of you are from the Huangfu clan. Huangfu Jiangdong gnashed his teeth and shouted word by word. There wasn't much emotion on Xiao Jin's ordinary face. His lips curled into a sneer. I'm not a member of the Huangfu clan to begin with. If Patriarch Huangfu is old, then you should abdicate your position as soon as possible. Don't monopolize this position. You bastard. Huangfu Jiangdong pointed at Xiao Jin as he berated, Good? Good. Very good, since you don't treat yourself as a member of the Huangfu clan then. Even if you're in the heaven realm, don't appear in front of old master. ***5. Update. End of this chapter. The fastest update speed. Hurry up and read it. TXT download address. Phone reading. Chapter 4466. Hearing this, Xiao Jin couldn't help but laugh. This is your goal. To Huangfu Jiangdong. Xiao Jin was the biggest stumbling block. If he appeared in the Huangfu family, the old man and the older generation of the Huangfu family, they would definitely let him return to the Huangfu family as the heir, the young master of the Huangfu family. Because Xiao Jin was recognized by the ancestors as the heir of the Huangfu family. Because he had a pair of pure golden pupils. So what? As long as he didn't want to give up power. As long as Xiao Jin still hated the Huangfu family. Xiao Jin would never inherit the Huangfu family. Even if he, Huangfu Jiangdong, abdicated in the future. It was absolutely impossible to let Xiao Jin inherit the position of the Huangfu family head. Huangfu Jiangdong's face was cold. If you still want to see the old man, go back with me now. Go back? Xiao Jin's lips curled up in ridicule. You guys went to pick me up several times saying that you want me to return to the Huangfu family, but when did you really let me go back? His eyes suddenly narrowed. The cold light reflected was like that of a ferocious beast shocking people. Are you sure you want me to go back? You. Huangfu Jiangdong's body stiffened. He said this because he knew that Xiao Jin's hatred for him, for the Huangfu family, and knew that he wouldn't come back. He would say this. It was just because he was in the right. But Xiao Jin's reply caused him to be unable to continue the conversation for a moment. On the other side, Huangfu Sheng's voice sounded, Patriarch Huangfu is indeed old. He has even forgotten that I have changed my name to Huangfu Sheng and entered the Huangfu family's genealogy book. Huangfu Jiangdong's expression suddenly froze. Both of them were stubbornly insisting that he was old. Could it really be like what Dong Yu said? They actually wanted to take over the entire Huangfu family? This thought made Huangfu Jiangdong look at the two with more suspicion. Huangfu Sheng continued to say, however, based on how clan leader Huangfu addressed me as Pei Sheng, I'm sure you've never regarded me as a member of the Huangfu clan. Therefore, it's reasonable that I'm unwilling to follow you back to the Huangfu clan. Since Patriarch Huangfu isn't sincere and wants to invite us back, why are you putting on an act? Huangfu Sheng's words were extremely sharp. Huangfu Jiangdong's face was almost covered by dark clouds. Pei Sheng. He gritted his teeth and shouted the name. Good? Good. Did the both of you really think that by doing this, you are showing your loyalty to Yiqing Luo and the Overlord? As the current patriarch of the Huangfu family, I'm telling you, if you don't return to the Huangfu family today, don't even think about taking another step into the Huangfu family. Heh! A clear chuckle suddenly rang out after these stern and dignified words were spoken. That laughter was filled with mockery and ridicule. Shortly after, the young lady who had been watching the show lazily walked out. Her steps were even. Her footwork was graceful. Every single one of her movements revealed her noble and indolence. Patriarch Huangfu. The young lady's clear voice was very pleasant to the ears. Especially in this quiet dense forest, it seemed as though there was a faint echo. As for Jinzi and Ah Sheng, they have never expressed their loyalty to me. To me they are my comrades who fight side by side. Her smile became even more devilish and devilish. 6. Update. End of this chapter. The fastest update speed. Hurry up and read it. Download address. Phone reading. Chapter 4467. As for whether to return to the Huangfu family, it's not up to you to decide. Yiqing Luo's voice paused slightly as her smile became even more alluring. Her long and narrow eyes lifted upwards like a blooming datura flower. She said it word by word confidently, if they want to go to the Huangfu family, I will bring them there. If they want to meet old Master Huangfu, I will bring them there. Her words paused slightly again. Immediately after, her eyes congealed. His smile also became more and more intense, and there was a bit of an oppressive aura. Even if they want Huangfu family, you must also give. With the last 4 words, Yiqing Luo spat it out one word at a time. Arrogant and confident to the extreme. Her words were arrogant, as though she just wanted to get something unimportant. Huangfu Zhangdong's face was as black as charcoal. His eyes were filled with treacherous coldness. What a big tone. His gaze was sharp. Yiqing Luo, do you really think that you can rely on the protection of the Overlord to be so arrogant? Do you think Huangfu family's foundation is something that you can destroy? Huangfu family was after all one of the 4 great families. Wasn't Yiqing Luo thinking of things too simply? Hey, in the end she's just a child. Huangfu Zhangdong's eyes were cold as his gaze swept past Diamo Xian. Following that, he suppressed the surging hatred in his chest. Yiqing Luo, you won't be complacent for long. You'd better follow the Overlord closely, otherwise. He gave a cold laugh as he didn't need to say anything. Let's go. Huangfu Zhangdong flicked his sleeves as he headed in the opposite direction of Yiqing Luo and the rest. Behind him, a young lady's cold laughter was heard. That laughter was like the ringing of a bell, extremely melodious. But when it fell into Huangfu Zhangdong's ears, it was like a fiery slap on his face. Because Yiqing Luo's laughter was obviously ridiculing them for escaping. Patriarch Huangfu, I'll quietly wait for your good news in the Gu residence. If Patriarch Huangfu is unable to suppress my complacency even after a long time, it's very possible that I'll become complacent and personally bring Jinzi and a Sheng to the Huangfu clan to cause trouble. The young girl's laughing voice entered Huangfu Zhangdong's ears along with the breeze. Huangfu Zhangdong's footsteps came to a halt. He tightly clenched his fists and angrily strode forward. Ts who relied on his majesty to be arrogant and despotic. One day he would crush her like an ant, ruthlessly crushing her to death. Yiqing Luo's group walked out of Heaven Cliff Ridge smoothly. Outside the Tianya Ridge stood a large number of people from various forces. However, the people from these forces were clearly much weaker than the group of people he had met in the Horizon Ridge. When he saw the group of people coming out, all of them retreated nervously. It was as if he had seen some dreadful beast. It was likely that the people who had left the Tianya Ridge had told everyone about what had happened inside. Because of that, when the crowd saw Yiqing Luo and Bai Mei who was being carried out, their eyes were filled with unconcealable greed and also filled with cautious fear. Yiqing Luo and the rest couldn't be bothered to waste time with these people. Under the various gazes from the crowd, they left the Horizon Ridge and headed straight towards the Gu residence. Eldest young miss. The minute Gu Yun saw Yiqing Luo's figure, she welcomed her with joy. When she dashed in front of Yiqing Luo, her gaze fell onto Yiqing Luo's side as well as the group of people behind. Chapter 4468. She was shocked and immediately bowed respectfully. Lord Dizun. Yiqing Luo looked around the Gu residence. The Gu residence had not changed much from when she had left. Gu Yun knew that the person beside her was the Overlord. This meant that Gu Yun had long heard about the rumors regarding her, as well as what happened at Tianya Ridge. She pulled Gu Yun over and asked directly, "Where's the barbaric Blood King?" When these 4 words came out of her mouth, Gu Yun's expression changed as she shook her head at her. After that, she whispered, "Bone Lord is not in the residence now." Not in? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. Really? Absolutely. Gu Yun nodded with certainty. Bone Lord has indeed been in the Gu residence for the past few days. However, he seemed to have received some news this morning and left the Gu residence early in the morning. He only told me to bring a message to you, First Miss. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. She came back from Tianya Ridge. It was to see the barbaric Blood King. It was the barbaric Blood King who brought her to the Heaven Realm. And it was the barbaric Blood King who told the world the secret that she had the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. Even the Divine Emperor's tomb was told to the world. There were some things that she had to ask clearly. And only the barbaric Blood King could give her an answer. She thought that such a thing had happened. Bai Mei also said that the barbaric Blood King had completely severed ties with the people behind the secluded palace because of the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and the Divine Emperor's tomb being exposed. By right, the barbaric Blood King should have returned to the Gu residence. But, he left the Gu residence early in the morning? Was it because he felt guilty to her so he didn't dare to see her? But how could he be so sure that she could come out of Tianya Ridge today? And how could he be so sure that she could return safely in the midst of so many people? The Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and the Divine Emperor's tomb? Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips slightly and asked, "What did he say?" Bone Lord said that he knew First Miss wouldn't forgive his mistake. The consequences of this matter were too complicated and serious. He hoped that First Miss could stay by His Majesty's side at all times. Even if she went to the toilet or took a bath, try not to be alone. Bone Monarch also said that this matter was caused by him and that he would take responsibility until the end. He did not ask for Eldest Miss's forgiveness and only hoped that Eldest Miss would not resent him because of this. At this point, Gu Yun paused again. She carefully sized up Yiqing Luo's expression, trying to guess her current thoughts. Actually, Bone Lord never had any ill intentions towards Eldest Mississippi, recalling when Bone Lord mentioned Yiqing Luo, that nostalgic and desolate expression. Gu Yun could not help but want to speak up for her master. This servant has never seen such a self-blaming and dejected Bone Lord. After the incident, his heart is actually more tormented than anyone else. Seeing that Yiqing Luo didn't reply for a long time, Gu Yun couldn't help but continued. During this period of time, various powerhouses were discussing on how to find you and get what they wanted from you. After Bone Lord heard about it, he even killed several powerhouses people in public. But no matter how much Gu Yun said, Yiqing Luo's expression didn't have much change. Gu Yun was a little frustrated as she helplessly sighed. This servant knows that I shouldn't say these words, but I just don't wish for there to be a huge misunderstanding between Eldest Miss and Bone Lord. I know. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and patted her shoulder. Whether to forgive him or not, we can only talk after we settle the matter face to face. Chapter 4469. Gu Yun lowered her head. Bone Monarch had one last thing to say. He said that the questions you want to ask him can be found in the token he gave you. Token? Yiqing Luo reached into her sleeves. She took out the token that the Blood Bone Barbarian King had given her to summon the Bone Mansion. Was there the answer she wanted on it? Did the barbaric Bloodbone King know what she wanted to ask? He was staring at the token. Suddenly, a large palm reached out from behind her and grabbed her little hand that was holding the token. "Alright, I've just returned. Have a good rest." The man's broad chest covered her delicate body. The elegant sandalwood fragrance and warmth enveloped her. He kept that token back into Yiqing Luo's sleeve. "Even if you're not tired, your bunch of brothers should be tired." Yes. Eldest Miss must be tired. This servant will get someone to prepare now." After Gu Yun finished speaking, she counted the number of people and quickly retreated. Yiqing Luo was in Dmo Xian's embrace as she turned around to face him. She stretched out her hands and hooked them around the man's neck. The man exerted a little strength in his arms and held the girl in his arms. He hurriedly walked to the hall not far ahead. When Yiqing Luo's gaze swept past the wide-open Gu residence's main door, her eyes flashed past a sharp glint. Outside the door, on a seemingly normal street. But every corner or passers-by, when he looked at the Bone Mansion, their eyes were filled with greed and vigilance. Clearly, the entire Gu Mansion had already been targeted by the various large factions. No wonder Dmo Xian stopped her from continuing the discussion with Gu Yun earlier. Soon Gu Yun made the arrangements. A servant led Yen Xiao Yi and the rest to the guest room. Dmo Xian carried Yiqing Luo as they returned to Yiqing Luo's room in the Gu residence. There was no one to lead the way. Yiqing Luo didn't lead the way. But Dmo Xian had accurately located her room. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but curled her lips as she gave a teasing smile. How did Xian know? This is my room? Could it be that before Xian came to the Heaven Realm to look for me, he specially came to my room? Dmo Xian lowered his head. His obsidian eyes reflected the girl's picturesque face. He slowly bent down. Just a finger's distance away from Yiqing Luo's lips, he stopped. His black hair sprinkled on her face. Like a feather, it gently tugged at her heartstrings. Hot breaths intertwined with each other. It was an ambiguous distance, but the man did not continue to be ambiguous. His nose sniffed her body. His low and hoarse voice had a hint of palpitation that tugged at her heartstrings. "There's your scent here. It's very fragrant, Yiqing Luo." He started flirting again without saying a word. This baby can't take this kind of teasing, hey. If he couldn't take it anymore, he wouldn't be able to take it anymore. Yiqing Luo's hands around the man's neck suddenly increased in strength. Their lips touched. Diamo Xian's long eyelashes fluttered. In his eyes, there was a playful smile on the girl's face. The expression on his face became gentle. His eyes were filled with love and tenderness. He exerted a little force with his hands. He held the girl's delicate body and deepened the kiss. The fierce and lingering kiss made the temperature of the two rise. The two figures slowly disappeared into the room. When both of them fell onto the soft big bed, the man's hand was propped up on the side of the bed. From Yiqing Luo's angle, she looked at the man's handsome and elegant face. She only felt that this man was enough to make the sun, moon and stars lose their splendor. Her eyes were filled with a smile, welcoming the man's even more aggressive kiss. 9. End of this chapter. The fastest update speed. Hurry up and read it. Download address. Chapter 4470. But, just as the two of them were about to continue, Yiqing Luo's hand suddenly pressed against Diamo Xian's chest. Xian, wait. The young lady's voice was very soft, and between her long and narrow eyes, there was a gorgeous color. Diamo Xian's eyes congealed slightly, suppressing the heat surging in his lower abdomen. "It seems, something is a bit strange," Yiqing Luo said lightly. The two of them stopped moving. Coincidentally, they turned their heads and looked to the side, only to see the quilt at the foot of the bed, slightly protruding, revealing a pair of red eyes. Seeing the two of them looking over at the same time, that eye in a swoosh hid in the quilt. "Yiqing Luo?" The man turned over and got up. She sat up and directly lifted the quilt. A fluffy red bird curled up at the foot of the bed. After the quilt was lifted, the bird spread its wings intending to fly away. Yiqing Luo stretched out and grabbed its wings. "Qi Yan." Where was the tone of the previous gentle and lovely tone? That gloomy tone was obviously angry after a good thing was disturbed. Qi Yan fluttered its little claws which had been cured, howling incessantly. "Why are you angry at this sacred beast? This sacred beast did not stay here on purpose. It's you who barged in without any explanation. This sacred beast had not had time to speak and you. Qi Yan felt extremely aggrieved. "Repeat 500 words, change in 10 minutes, moi?" But, just as the two of them were about to continue, Yiqing Luo's hand suddenly pressed against Diamo Xian's chest. Xian, wait." The young lady's voice was very soft, and between her long and narrow eyes, there was a gorgeous color. Diamo Xian's eyes slightly congealed, suppressing the surging heat in his lower abdomen. "It seems there is something a bit strange," Yiqing Luo said lightly. The two of them stopped moving. Coincidentally, they turned their heads and looked to the side, only to see the quilt at the foot of the bed, slightly protruding, revealing a pair of red eyes. Seeing the two of them looking over at the same time, that eye in a swoosh hid in the quilt. "Yiqing Luo?" The man turned over and got up. She sat up and lifted the quilt. A fluffy red bird curled up at the foot of the bed. After the bedding was lifted, the bird flapped its wings intending to fly away. Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand and grabbed its wings. "Qi Yan." Her tone was no longer as gentle and charming as before. That gloomy expression was obviously the result of anger from embarrassment after his good deed was interrupted. Qi Yan fluttered its little claws that had been healed and cried out, "Why are you being so fierce to this holy beast? I didn't stay here on purpose. You were the ones who barged in without any explanation. Before this sacred beast could say anything, you. Qi Yan felt extremely wronged. However, just as the two of them were about to continue, Yiqing Luo's hand suddenly pressed against Diamo Xian's chest. Xian, wait." The young girl's voice was very gentle, and her long and narrow eyes were filled with a gorgeous color. Diamo Xian's pupils congealed as he suppressed the surging heat in his lower abdomen. "There seems to be something strange." Yiqing Luo gasped lightly. The two of them stopped moving. Coincidentally, they turned their heads and looked to the side, only to see the quilt at the foot of the bed, slightly protruding, revealing a pair of red eyes. Seeing the two of them looking over at the same time. The fastest update speed. Hurry up and read it. Download address. Mobile phone reading. Chapter 4471. Yiqing Luo got up from the bed. He pulled the neatly folded new clothes to the side and put them on. He tidied up the place. She walked out of the room. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning, so it was about 10 o'clock. Dmo Shen, that pig trotter. Why was he always torturing her until she fell asleep? The next morning he was nowhere to be seen. What a scumbag setting. Yiqing Luo ridiculed in her heart. But she was also clear that Dmo Shen was definitely rushing about because of her matters. The Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb. No matter which point it was. They were all things that could drive people crazy and greedy. Dmo Shen couldn't possibly stay by her side all the time. However, right now she was in the Bone residence. Even if Dmo Shen wasn't always around, those people wouldn't dare to do anything to her. For now it was still safe. After Yiqing Luo came out, Gu Yun quickly walked over. Eldest young miss, you're awake? Yiqing Luo asked. Are they all awake? The guests in the first and second rooms in the east wing have already woken up. Aside from the second room, the other guests in the west wing are still resting because they chatted until midnight last night, Gu Yun replied. The first and second rooms of the east wing were occupied by Zhou Mo, Gui Wu, and Gui Bao. In the west wing, Long Yunzhan and Tong Ziqing were in the second wing. The other guests were referring to Qiao Jin and Huang Fusheng. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to head to the east wing, Gu Yun suddenly thought of something. Oh yes, eldest miss, second young master Ren heard that you're back and has been wanting to meet you. Ren Jiaming? Oh right, Ren Jiaming was still living in the Gu residence. After she was taken away by Zhu Wuxin, a series of events had happened. She had forgotten about Ren Jiaming. When she followed Gu Yun to look for Ren Jiaming, Yiqing Luo inquired about everything that had happened in the old city during the period when she wasn't around. After she was taken away by Zhu Wuxin, Ren Jiaming's profound grade was crippled, so it was naturally impossible for them to bring him along to search for Yiqing Luo's whereabouts. Therefore, Ren Jiaming had been locked up in the Gu residence. Ren Jiaming should be in the Gu residence. At first it didn't cooperate. He was worried about Yiqing Luo and wanted to escape to find out news about her. However, he was caught by Gong Xiazhu this time, and she almost pressed him down in an alley and raped him. Fortunately, Gu Yun discovered it in time and rushed over with the Gu residence's secret guards, saving Ren Jiaming's innocence. After this incident, Ren Jiaming was quiet for a while. But after the news of Yiqing Luo's Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and the Divine Emperor's tomb spread, all the major forces that had come to participate in the excellence list were in a frenzy. All of them were eyeing Yiqing Luo covetously. The entire city was in an uproar, researching on how to capture Yiqing Luo, how to dig out her Profound Heart Jade, how to obtain the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, etc. Ren Jiaming panicked again. Once again he quietly left the Gu residence. This time he did not meet Gong Xiazhu. However, he bumped into Ren Jiaming. If not for the fact that Bone Lord had returned early because of the Palace of Gloomy Shadows plotting against him, and because Ren Jiaming was someone whom Yiqing Luo wanted to keep, Bone Lord saved him in passing. Ren Jiaming reckoned that he wouldn't be able to live until now. He listened to Gu Yun talk about Ren Jiaming's recent matters. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but sigh. This Ren Jiaming is really plagued with disasters. No matter what he did, he would always get into trouble. Today the Ren family is completely controlled by the eldest miss of the Ren family, and she has also announced the collaboration with the royal family. Gu Yun continued, according to the informant, the eldest miss of the Ren family might marry into the royal family. Chapter 4472. Marriage? Ren Jianying intended to marry the crown prince? That woman. Her ambition was so big, would she be willing to marry a man? One must know that once she chose the royal family to marry, no matter how powerful she was, the Ren family would become the royal family's accessory. Based on Ren Jianying's character, how could she accept such a thing? Could it be Ren Jianying still had the intention to let Ren Jiaming and Gong Xiazhu get married? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. Does Ren Jiaming know about this? Yes. Gu Yun nodded, because he knows he has been staying in the Gu residence and didn't go anywhere else. Yiqing Luo smiled. Looks like he understands his current predicament. As they were talking, they arrived at Ren Jiaming's courtyard. Yiqing Luo just walked in. She saw a figure pouncing over, eldest miss. Eldest miss. That person had not reached Yiqing Luo, but he was sent flying by Yiqing Luo's sleeve. Ren Jiaming touched his painful butt and climbed up from the ground with an exaggerated expression. Eldest miss, we haven't met for such a long time, can't you be gentler to me? He sucked in a breath of cold air in pain. As he walked towards Yiqing Luo, his mouth kept nagging. Just when he was halfway there, his eyes suddenly lit up. Eldest miss, your profound grade has recovered. Earlier Yiqing Luo's sleeve was swung over. The air was filled with layers of ripples. Yiqing Luo walked straight into the courtyard. Didn't you want to see me? Say it quickly. Ren Jiaming followed behind. Eldest miss, how did you recover your profound grade? Can you tell me? I also want to recover my profound grade. Yiqing Luo sat on the stone bench. Go to Qinya Ridge and you will naturally recover. But, from what I see, if you go there you might die. Ren Jiaming. Not might, it's definitely. Stop the nonsense, tell me what's the matter. Yiqing Luo didn't give him a chance to show off. Ren Jiaming looked at Yiqing Luo with a resentful look and sat on the stone bench opposite her. As a friend, I'm worried about you, alright? Yiqing Luo shot a glance at him. These words, even if you use it to deceive others, probably no one would believe you. Ren Jiaming immediately howled, Woman, why are you so cold-blooded? I was worried for you for so long. Yiqing Luo, forget it, she should just leave. Even though a series of events had happened and he had experienced several life and death situations, he was still calm. He could still be so optimistic. He didn't feel any shadow in his heart at all. He must be a weirdo. Eldest young miss, eldest young miss. Alright, I'll speak properly. Ren Jiaming immediately stood up and chased after Yiqing Luo, blocking her path. Yiqing Luo took a look at him and sat down once again. Ren Jiaming moved to her side and sat down. As he carefully observed her expression, he said, I just want to ask, when do you plan to help me save that person? Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Are you sure that person can help you? I'm sure. Ren Jiaming adjusted his sitting posture and his expression became stern. The reason why elder sister wanted to take me away from the Gu residence several times was because she wanted to find out the whereabouts of that person from me. This is enough to show that elder sister is afraid of that person. Ren Jiaming is nothing much to make her afraid. Is very normal. Yiqing Luo touched her chin. Ren Jiaming pursed his lips and suddenly placed both his hands on the stone table as he raised his head solemnly. End of this chapter. Chapter 4473. What if I say that, when I left the Gu residence 2 days ago and was captured by Big Sister, I saw people from the Palace of Darkness beside Big Sister. Gloomy Palace, Yiqing Luo's eyelids twitched. Are you sure? I'm sure. Ren Jiaming nodded with certainty. Moreover, as I said before, the person who is related to Big Sister is from the Palace of Darkness. Yiqing Luo had guessed right from the start. Ren Jiaming should be working with the Palace of Darkness. She raised her eyebrows. How did you know about my relationship with the Palace of Darkness? I don't know about the grudges between you and the Palace of Darkness, but I know that your purpose in coming to the Heaven Realm is related to the Palace of Darkness. Ren Jiaming explained, ever since the Palace of Tenebrous Shadows spread the news that you have the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade in your body and the Divine Emperor's tomb, I roughly knew that there was a story between you and the Palace of Tenebrous Shadows. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes thoughtfully. Ren Jiaming continued, Big Sis is very anxious to find the person I want you to save. It seems that it is also the intention of the Dark Palace. If you save that person, not only will you help me but you will also deal with the Dark Palace. This reason can convince me. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards. I can promise you that as long as you save that person he will definitely help you deal with the Palace of Darkness. I don't want the Ren family to be destroyed by Big Sis. Ren Jiaming was still trying to persuade him. However, at this point, he was first stunned as he stared blankly at Yiqing Luo. After some time he finally reacted to the meaning of those 8 words which Yiqing Luo said earlier. He jumped up excitedly. You agree? Yes. Yiqing Luo replied. Ren Jiaming's excitement was evident in his words. Eldest miss, I'm really grateful to you. You're the savior of the Ren family. Don't thank me so early, I might not be able to save him. Yiqing Luo looked at Ren Jiaming carefully. It was certain that Ren Jiaming's words were from the bottom of his heart. In the end, both of them discussed that after Dmo Xian returned, they would follow Ren Jiaming to save the person he mentioned. Diamo Xian was mentioned. Ren Jiaming looked a little down. After hesitating for a long time, he finally asked, "You and the Overlord, really?" Yiqing Luo smiled lightly as her brows rose. "Feel that I'm not worthy of him?" "No." Ren Jiaming hurriedly shook his head and immediately looked down. "I'm just a little surprised. I've been wondering what kind of man would be able to take in a woman like you. I didn't expect it would be the Overlord. Perhaps it's because he's Diamo Xian." Yiqing Luo seemed to have thought of Diamo Xian as her eyes were filled with smiles. Ren Jiaming was stunned for a moment before he chuckled. That was right, because it was Di Zun. He didn't even dare to start this emotional battle, and it was already over. He could not help but laugh. Fortunately, he had concealed his true feelings very well. Otherwise, he didn't even have the chance to make Yiqing Luo help him anymore. "Wait here for the news, I'll make a move first." Yiqing Luo waved her hand and stood up. He had only taken a few steps. Ren Jiaming suddenly called out to her, "Eldest Mississippi." Yiqing Luo halted her footsteps. "The rumors about the Palace of Seclusion. Is it true?" Ren Jiaming's question was filled with hesitation. Yiqing Luo turned around as her long and narrow eyes curved into a smile which didn't look like a smile. "Do you believe it?" Ren Jiaming didn't know how to reply for a moment. He remained silent for a moment before he opened his mouth. "I always feel that. As long as it's you, no matter what is impossible, I feel that there will be a miracle." End of this chapter. Chapter 4474. Yiqing Luo's lips curled slightly. Her long and narrow eyes rippled with a faint glow. "It's true." 3 words were clearly spat out from her lips. Ren Jiaming was stunned. It was until the young lady continued to walk forward when he regained his senses. Aren't you afraid that I have ulterior motives towards you?" Yiqing Luo's footsteps didn't stop this time. She continued to walk forward. But her voice was clearly transmitted into his ears. "Although you're not very reliable, but I don't believe you." Believe? Ren Jiaming's heart felt as though something had exploded. He stared blankly at Yiqing Luo's departing figure. Agitation and indescribable emotions filled his heart. After leaving Ren Jiaming's courtyard, Yiqing Luo then asked Gu Yun to bring her to the Gu residence's warehouse, since she wanted to save someone. Then she had to go take a look at what medicinal herbs were in the Gu residence's warehouse. When Gu Yun brought them to the warehouse, Gu Yun's eyes widened. Outside the warehouse, there was actually an orderly team of guards guarding. Gu Yun went up and said something to that team of guards. Then she returned to Yiqing Luo's side. "Eldest Miss, after entering the warehouse, I need you to show them the Bone Lord's token." Yiqing Luo took out the token and threw it to that team of guards. The solemn and serious guards instantly went crazy. This was the token which represented the master of the Gu residence. Even if he didn't treat it as a treasure, shouldn't he treat it with respect? How could he throw it away just like that? He caught the token in a flurry. The guard leader couldn't help but check the token carefully before he believed that the token was real. Yiqing Luo took back the token and entered the warehouse alone. She tossed the token in her hand and her fingertips rubbed the top 2 times. Until now, she still didn't understand the reason why Blood-Bone Barbaric King passed the token to her. And that sentence which he asked Gu Yun to pass to her, what did it mean? What was called? She wanted to ask him the answer. Could she find the answer from this token? How would he know what she wanted to ask? A token, how was it going to answer her question? She was really annoyed with this kind of behavior, not being able to say it out directly. Yiqing Luo stuffed the token into the profound phoenix ring and inserted it into the warehouse. The warehouse of the Gu residence was indeed a place that required a group of guards to guard. Even though she was used to seeing rare treasures, she still couldn't help but click her tongue. There were countless rare treasures. As if they were free, they filled up the entire space. Yiqing Luo's goal was to head directly towards the medicinal ingredients section. When she saw those medicinal herbs, Yiqing Luo had the impulse to ransack this place clean. She saw many rare medicinal herbs that she had never seen before in the 100 refining pills. Just like those medicinal herbs that only appeared once every 1,000 years, there was a huge pile of them. What a nouveau riche. Yiqing Luo resisted the urge to stretch out her hand and slowly looked over. The more he looked, the more his blood boiled. They couldn't wait to compare all the medicinal herbs they knew with these medicinal herbs and study them. If only Master Ghost Doctor was here. He could probably stay here for a few years before he was willing to leave the warehouse. He was watching along the way. For a moment he did not notice his feet. A protruding object bumped into her foot. Yiqing Luo staggered as she fell forward. Her reaction was swift as she steadied herself, avoiding the consequence of falling flat on her face. If she fell. Chapter 4475. Yiqing Luo turned her head back to see what had tripped her. She lowered her head to take a look. It was a wooden box. It looked old and covered with dust. Yiqing Luo leaned over. Although there were many rare treasures in the Gu residence's warehouse, so much that it made one dazzled. But every single item was neatly placed. Why would there be a wooden box in this medicinal herb area? But something that would appear in the Gu residence's warehouse. It was definitely a treasure. Yiqing Luo lifted her leg and gave it a kick. She didn't hear any sound from inside. Yiqing Luo didn't smell any strange smell from the box. She tentatively stretched out her hand and poked the wooden box. After confirming that there were no hidden weapons in the wooden box, she then moved the wooden box in front of her. She raised her palm and the profound wave rippled, blowing away the thick layer of dust on top of the wooden box. The rectangular wooden box had an extremely complicated and ceremonial totem on top, winding around the entire box. Yiqing Luo's fingertip rubbed on the totem. If she didn't see it wrongly, these totems seemed to be similar to the totems on the murals of the Divine Emperor that she had seen before, but they were different in approach. But if she looked closely, it wasn't similar at all. There was a kind of imitation feeling. Yiqing Luo picked up the wooden box and sized it up. There was no lock on the wooden box. But she couldn't open it no matter what. Strange and strange. Yiqing Luo turned the wooden box over and over, checking it thoroughly. She couldn't find a way to open the box. Yiqing Luo might as well throw the wooden box into the profound phoenix ring. Forget it, bring it out first and ask Xian when he returns. She had just kept the wooden box. Just as she was about to get up, out of the corner of his eye, he was suddenly blinded by a bright light from a certain spot. That was the direction where she had tripped over the wooden box and almost fell. If she had really fallen onto the ground, she might have discovered. From that corner, a faint and bright light shone out. What? In the warehouse, every area was illuminated by luminous pearls. Coincidentally, the luminous pearls in the medicinal herb area were placed closer to the front. The position where Yiqing Luo was standing now, the light wasn't that bright. Because of that, the light in the corner was slightly more obvious. Yiqing Luo raised her brows slightly. Could it be that someone wanted to dig a tunnel and steal something from the warehouse? No. If there really was something, the group of guards outside the door would have noticed it immediately. Yiqing Luo thought for a moment and walked towards the direction of the light. Just as he approached, she furrowed her brows. The light came from a hole about the size of a fingertip in the corner of the wall. And when she just got close, from the entrance of the cave, he felt it was an extremely weak response. *CK was Qiyan. This feeling made Yiqing Luo go into a daze. After that guy was thrown out by Dmo Xin last night, he didn't return to her pet space. It's just a bird. Where did it go to wander? Yiqing Luo leaned towards the entrance of the cave and looked over against the light. On the other side of the cave, the candlelight flickered and it was a little dim. A slender figure was elongated under the flickering candlelight. Swaying, he walked towards a certain place step by step. The feeling of the shadow staggering made Yiqing Luo feel a little strange. Following the footsteps of that figure, the candlelight illuminated the surroundings. Yiqing Luo saw it clearly. That was a treacherous and eerie ancestral hall. Countless tablets, under the illumination of the candlelight, appeared extremely treacherous. Bone Residence Ancestral Hall? Yiqing Luo raised her brows in interest. Bone Lord? Was really someone from the Heaven Realm? Chapter 4476. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many tablets in the Gu Residence's Ancestral Hall. But that figure, who was he? Why did he appear in the Gu Residence's Ancestral Hall? And Qiyan, that bastard, why was he in the Gu Residence's Ancestral Hall? Yiqing Luo's gaze swept across the surroundings but didn't see any trace of Qiyan. She frowned and used her consciousness to call out to Qiyan. Both her divine sense was actually blocked by a barrier. She couldn't communicate with Qiyan at all. This kind of situation, Qiyan must have done it on purpose to cut off the spiritual link between them. What on earth was he trying to do? Yiqing Luo searched around. She didn't find any place from the warehouse to the Ancestral Hall. She couldn't possibly break through this place, right? She probably hadn't reached the Ancestral Hall yet. She would be taken away by the team of guards outside. Moreover, there were so many rare treasures here. Break through the warehouse. These precious medicinal herbs would be lost. Yiqing Luo decided to leave the warehouse and find Gu Yun to understand more before heading to the ancestral hall openly. Just as she was about to leave, coincidentally, the figure in the ancestral hall slowly turned around. A strange and horrifying face appeared in Yiqing Luo's pupils. The candle flame flickered, contrasting with the curved black blood on that face. She could even vaguely see the eerie white bones with black qi. That face. It couldn't be called a face anymore. Bai Mei. That face was exactly the Bai Mei who didn't have any young lady's skin on. Didn't she throw Bai Mei into the room guarded by the Gu residence's secret guards? She even specially placed the jade pendant which had Bai Su's consciousness in the room, so that the two sisters could have a good talk. How did Bai Mei appear here? Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly thumped. Bai Mei would absolutely not take such a big risk and run to the Gu residence's ancestral hall for no reason. Especially she didn't even bother to conceal her own face. To Bai Mei, appearance was everything she insisted on. Yiqing Luo dismissed the idea of letting Gu Yun lead her to the Gu residence's ancestral hall. If she swaggered over, it would only attract Bai Mei's attention. She wanted to see what Bai Mei was trying to do. The ancestral hall wasn't big. Yiqing Luo could see Bai Mei's every move clearly from this hole. Bai Mei's steps were obviously very unsteady. However, he still forced himself to walk around the ancestral hall. It seemed to be searching for something. He walked around the ancestral hall and searched around it. Bai Mei seemed to be a little impatient. That terrifying face of his was distorted. He quickened his pace. She hurriedly walked around the ancestral hall once more. Even the spirit tablets on the table were carefully examined. Finally, he bent down and crawled under the table where the memorial tablets and offerings were placed. Again there was nothing. She angrily crawled out from under the table. He did not care about the dust on his clothes. With a twisted face, he bared his teeth and glared angrily as he searched the surroundings once more. His movements became much more violent. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she was rather curious. What was Bai Mei looking for in the Gu residence's ancestral hall? Bai Mei could be considered a member of the Palace of Darkness now. Her current actions should be a mission issued by the Palace of Darkness. Only the Palace of Darkness could intervene to help. Bai Mei, who was already at Heaven's Boundaries Ridge, surrounded by various powerhouses and was on the verge of death, was able to avoid the Gu residence's secret guards and escape from the room. Chapter 4477. Yu Palace wanted Bai Mei to search for something in the Gu residence's ancestral hall. Yiqing Luo stared at it for a while longer. After Bai Mei searched a few rounds, her emotions became more and more irritable. But she didn't give up as she continued searching in the ancestral hall. Where on earth is this damn thing? Bai Mei clenched her teeth and spat out the words. She clenched her fist and slammed it on the ground. She didn't know what she had punched. She cried out in pain as she immediately hugged her own hand and stood up abruptly, raising her hand in front of her eyes to check. But her actions were too rough and swift. The moment she stood up, she suddenly knocked against the cabinet by the side. The memorial tablets on the table immediately swayed and fell to the ground with a pitter-patter. The sound of things crashing and falling was extremely clear in the quiet ancestral hall. Who is it? There's a sound from the ancestral hall. Let's go over and take a look. Outside the warehouse, Yiqing Luo could faintly hear the anxious voice of the guards. Bai Mei, who was in the ancestral hall, naturally heard these words. Her eyes sunk. Under the flickering candlelight, that face became even more twisted and terrifying. She quickly stood up and wanted to escape from the ancestral hall. But the next moment, in that fallen memorial tablet, a faintly discernible glow flickered. Even though it was separated by a wall, Yiqing Luo could clearly feel a burst of profound wave coming from the memorial tablet. Bai Mei apparently sensed this as well. There was an obvious change in her gaze. She suddenly grinned as her eyes revealed a greedy desire. Finally found it. Bai Mei totally disregarded the fact that there were guards rushing over. She speedily dashed towards the direction of that faint glow. Could that be the thing that Bai Mei was looking for? She must not let her get her way. Yiqing Luo's feet moved as she immediately dashed out of the warehouse. The guards outside the door had yet to speak to Yiqing Luo. They saw Yiqing Luo's figure was like lightning as she dashed towards the other end of the warehouse. But, which was the instance when Yiqing Luo dashed out of the warehouse? In the dim ancestral hall. A fiery red little figure dashed out speedily. Just as Bai Mei was about to come into contact with that dim light, The raging flames that were mixed with boundless profound energy swept in front of Bai Mei. She blocked Bai Mei's way. And the remaining power of the raging flames was shocking. The memorial tablets on the table fell to the ground. Get lost, Bai Mei shouted in a hoarse voice. She glared at the palm-sized bird that was spreading its wings and bared her fangs. Qi Yan sneered, "You dare to do little things behind the master of this sacred beast? This sacred beast will burn you." It flapped its wings fiercely. The hurricane swept over. When he arrived in front of Bai Mei, the hurricane suddenly turned into two fire dragons. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws at Bai Mei. In an instant, Bai Mei's soft black hair curled up from the heat of the raging flames. Bai Mei's face contorted when she smelled the burning smell. She grabbed at her hair with both hands. After feeling the burnt roots of the hair, his entire face was filled with a strong murderous aura. Bang! Bai Mei's palm wind surged as a thick black qi filled the entire space. Qi Yin swiftly evaded it. As the phoenix feathers moved, they flickered with a colorful fiery light. After it was thrown out by the overlord, it saw Bai Mei sneakily circling around the Gu residence. It had been following Bai Mei. Chapter 4478. Indeed, this woman was trying to do something behind Yiqing Luo's back. Qi Yin flapped its wings and flew upwards. It wanted to settle this woman with its own power. Then it would bring this woman back and let the overlord know how powerful it was. Humph, let's see when he casually throws it. How would its master beat him up? Just as it was thinking about this, a gust of black yin qi, like a dense spider web, started to wrap around everything in its surroundings. Qi Yan's little body was still in the midst of its complacent imagination when it suddenly crashed into the yin qi. In an instant, a hole was corroded on the phoenix feathers which were like flowing light. Qi Yan cried out in pain. It spat out a flame from its mouth. It tried to disperse all the yin qi around it. Unfortunately, the layers of yin energy simply couldn't burn through the barrier at all. Instead, it went against the flame which it spat out and wrapped around it. It was like a bloody mouth which was opened wide. Scarlet flame's scarlet eyes widened, and a mournful cry came from its sharp mouth. What kind of ghostly yin qi was this? It was actually so strange. Its flame actually had no way to disperse or purify this ball of yin qi. One must know that its flame was able to cleanse any darkness in the world. But the yin qi which was released from Bai Mei's body was totally useless. How was this possible? Bai Mei's body was absolutely filled with yin qi, absolutely filled with the darkness of this world. Why did its flame have no effect on Bai Mei? Stinky bird, just based on you and you want to stop me? Bai Mei's horrifying face twisted as she sneered. Her 5 fingers turned into a sharp blade which was wrapped by the yin qi, sharp and filled with a chilling murderous aura, directly grabbing towards Qi Yan. Qi Yan was entangled by the layers of yin qi and couldn't move at all. It endured the pain of its wings being corroded by the yin qi and flapped its wings with all its might. Ah! Qi Yan was in so much pain that its phoenix feathers stood erect. Seeing the sharp yin qi coming straight at him, he felt a chill run down his spine. Qi Yan was so anxious that its phoenix feathers fluttered violently as it floated to the ground. It was one of the 4 holy beasts, the holy beast vermilion bird, yet it was about to die at the hands of a lowly human. It shouldn't have tried to be brave. He shouldn't have acted on his own before his strength had returned to its peak. Master, hurry up and save your bird. If you don't save the bird, you won't have a bird anymore. Qi Yan kept howling in his heart. He had not expected that before he died, he wasn't thinking about his 3 brothers, but Yiqing Luo. Bai Mei. It was a slightly cold voice that emitted a chilling intent. In this quiet ancestral hall, it was treacherous and sinister. After that, the door to the ancestral hall was suddenly kicked open. In front of Bai Mei's eyes, an afterimage that looked like a sunset flashed past. He felt a dull pain in his chest as he was sent flying by a powerful force. The young girl was dressed in a fiery red robe, and she exuded a noble and lofty aura. Bai Mei felt a sharp pain in her chest. She looked at the newcomer in disbelief. His gaze collided with the girl's cold and disdainful gaze. She only felt that she had been despised by Yiqing Luo. How dare you touch my beast? The young girl's pink lips curled up coldly as her smile was like a blooming poppy. Immediately after, she didn't look at Bai Mei. Her body turned slightly. She stretched out both her hands towards Qi Yan, who was entangled by the yin qi. Wherever her hand went, Chapter 4479. Just like the purification function. She rescued Qi Yan from the dense evil qi. Her fingers touched the place where Qi Yan was corroded by the evil qi. There was a hint of coldness in her eyes. There was a bit of fierceness and sharpness in it. She held Qi Yan in her arms. Her cold and charming eyes were slightly raised, and her gaze fell on Bai Mei. For eyes met. Her pink lips curled up slightly, her tone was cold, but there was an invisible noble elegance. Bai Mei, since you want to die then, I will fulfill your wish. Her tone, and the expression between her eyebrows were completely like looking down at Bai Mei. This kind of cognition made Bai Mei's heart give birth to a deep sense of shame and annoyance. Especially looking at Yi Qing Luo's high and mighty attitude, completely stepping on her expression. She couldn't wait to tear Yi Qing Luo into pieces. Yi Qing Luo lowered her eyes and looked at the curled-up ball in her arms, completely without the arrogant look in the past. The coldness in her eyes was even worse. Cold to the bone, even the aura around her was cold to the extreme. Under this gloomy ancestral hall, as if there was a gust of cold wind blowing. But Qi Yan in her arms seemed to not feel this bone-chilling coldness at all. Like finally hiding in a safe place that could make it feel at ease. The whole beast was relaxed. Bai Mei, for the sake of my sister, I have let you off too many times. Yi Qing Luo caressed Qi Yan's phoenix feathers. Her fingertips were still stained with a few strands of fluff that fell from Qi Yan's body. Bai Mei's eyes seemed to be stained with poison. Don't be so hypocritical after all, you are just deliberately forcing yourself in front of the Overlord, pretending to be good and kind. Bai Mei didn't appreciate it at all. In her heart, Yi Qing Luo was completely because Dmo Xian couldn't bear to let her die, so it was not easy to kill her. Yi Qing Luo gave a sound and laughed in a low voice. In the laughter, it was treacherous and frightening. I didn't expect that in your eyes, I am a beautiful and kind woman, I am so embarrassed. As she spoke, her fingertips purified all the yin qi on Qi Yan's body. Then she put Qi Yan back into the pet space. After doing this, Yi Qing Luo then swung her hand and curled her thin lips frivolously. Now tell me, how do you want to die? Do you really think that you can kill me? Bai Mei clenched her fists tightly. Her terrifying face was contorted with wrinkles. The blackened flesh and blood were squeezed together in layers. It looked very disgusting. Yi Qing Luo's eyes revealed a look of disgust as she shot a glance towards the tightly shut main door of the ancestral hall. Don't worry, before we die, this door will not be opened and those guards will not come in to disturb us. We can slowly play. The disgust in the young girl's eyes deeply pierced Bai Mei's heart. How could she not tell that Yi Qing Luo was disgusted with her face? If it wasn't for Yi Qing Luo, if it wasn't for that bitch, how could her face become like this? That slut actually dared to dislike her. She also wanted to let that slut have a taste of being disfigured. Bai Mei's body and mind were already twisted as the gaze she shot at Yi Qing Luo was filled with intense hatred. If the door of the ancestral hall was not open, then so be it. Yi Qing Luo thought that she wanted to escape from the main entrance? Did she really think that she was an idiot? Leave from the main entrance. The minute she left, wouldn't she be caught by the Gu residence's secret guards? Ah, idiot. Bai Mei clenched her fists tightly as her peripheral vision shot a glance towards the ancestral hall's cabinet. Following that, she leapt upwards. Download address, phone reading. Chapter 4480. A sinister black qi shot out from Bai Mei's palm. The dense profound glow merged with the sinister qi. Following that, a dense and horrifying attack was unleashed directly towards Yi Qing Luo's face. Huff huff huff, the frenzied profound glow slapped everything around it. The only table in the ancestral hall also made a crashing sound from the impact. The spirit tablets which had fallen onto the ground were also knocked against each other. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes slightly as she speedily avoided Bai Mei's attack. The glower flame fan on her fingertips opened up as a burst of profound wave collided with Bai Mei's attack. But Bai Mei had no intention to continue fighting with Yi Qing Luo. After she had unleashed a powerful offensive, she suddenly felt a chill down her spine. She speedily turned around and dashed towards the table where the spirit tablets were placed. On the table, the faint profound glow was still faintly flickering. Bai Mei took a few steps forward and dashed over. Her hand pressed on that piece of table. Feeling the faint glow inside and the profound qi which was emitted, she couldn't help but twitched her lips as she looked towards the front where the profound wave was surging. Yi Qing Luo, do you really think that you can make me stay? Tiske. Wait till I get my hands on this thing, I will kill you, kill you. She laughed maniacally as her hand had already stretched out towards that faint glow. Just at this moment. Suddenly, a slender hand was placed on Bai Mei's wrist. Aren't you hooting about how powerful you are? Why are you trying to escape? Not knowing when, the young lady had already broken through that profound glow and stood in front of her. Bai Mei was stunned for a moment. Yiqing Luo. When did she rush over? Do you think that I can't tell what your motive is? Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Don't be silly, I've said this before. You're the one who asked for it. So you should bear the consequences. Bai Mei intentionally unleashed a terrifying and extreme cold attack. Just to attract her attention. And then she left quietly. She would rush to the ancestral hall. It was because Bai Mei had discovered the dim light on the cabinet in the ancestral hall. That was obviously what Bai Mei was looking for. How could she possibly let her guard down? At the moment when Bai Mei moved, a figure suddenly appeared. She immediately sensed Bai Mei's intention. Yiqing Luo's fingertips suddenly tightened as her lips curled into an arc, adding a tinge of treacherous coldness. Bai Mei, why don't you tell us what mission has the Palace of Seclusion arranged for you? Bai Mei's horrifying face contorted in pain. Bitch, let go of me. Ah! She suddenly let out a blood-curdling scream. Yiqing Luo's hand which was clasping her arm suddenly increased her strength and only a kacha sound was heard as her bones were broken. Why can't you be obedient? Yiqing Luo smiled so much that her brows were filled with a sinister air. Prisoners shouldn't flaunt their momentary happiness. You might feel good with your mouth but your body will have to suffer. This time Bai Mei was very obedient. Gritting his teeth, he didn't dare to say another word. Yiqing Luo was still smiling. Have you thought it through? Do you want to answer my question? She paused as her vision shot towards Bai Mei's face. After all, this face of yours is rather scary. I'm afraid that I will have nightmares at night if I grab onto you like that. Bai Mei's vicious and venomous gaze suddenly stared at Yiqing Luo. But, at the next moment, she seemed to have thought of something. An indistinct cold glint flashed past her venomous eyes. Not waiting for Yiqing Luo to react, Bai Mei suddenly straightened her body as she pounced towards Yiqing Luo. That blackened flesh face was reflected in Yiqing Luo's pupils at a close distance. Hurry up and read the latest updates. Download address, cell phone reading. Chapter 4481. This action made Yiqing Luo stunned for a moment. No matter who it was. At the sight of such an ugly face sticking to his own. All of them would be shocked, right? It was Yiqing Luo's days that gave Bai Mei a chance. She speedily broke free from Yiqing Luo's restraint. Her hand swiftly pressed down on the faint light. Yiqing Luo wanted to stop her but it was too late. When Bai Mei's hand pressed on the faint light, that faint light which was so weak that it could not be seen suddenly burst forth with a dazzling light. The entire ancestral hall was lit up by this ray of faint light. Bai Mei grinned as she laughed maniacally at Yiqing Luo. Don't you dare to stop me. Yiqing Luo, wait for me to return, it will be your death date. The lady's maniacal laughter was filled with complacency. As though she was ridiculing Yiqing Luo, as though she had no way to deal with her. That dazzling light made Yiqing Luo unable to get near. Her intuition told her that an ominous premonition was surging in her heart towards this dazzling light. Her brows creased tightly as she stared at Bai Mei without blinking. As expected. The next moment, Bai Mei's maniacal laughter suddenly stopped. Immediately after, she let out a miserable shriek. His face, which was covered in blood and flesh, was extremely obvious under the resplendent light. It was twisting continuously. The flesh was wriggling. It was sinister and terrifying as though it was suffering from extreme pain. She looked at Yiqing Luo pleadingly. Save me? Save me. Yiqing Luo didn't move. Bai Mei struggled even more frantically as she tried to remove her hand from the cabinet. But the resplendent faint light was like a huge suction cup, firmly sucking her in. It was like a wide-open bloody mouth, as though it was going to swallow her whole. Apparently Bai Mei had also realized this. That strong suction force and the intense pain from the light penetrating her body. Something was obviously wrong. This was totally different from what the palace lord had said. He had obviously said that as long as she found the secret hidden in the Gu residence's ancestral hall, she would be able to find out the Bone Lord's secret through that secret, secluded palace. Would give her an even stronger power. Powerful enough to let her humiliate Yiqing Luo. Why Did this strange profound light in the ancestral hall of the Bone Estate have a feeling that it wanted to treat her as a sacrifice? Bai Mei was terrified and uneasy. His body continued to struggle and tremble. Yiqing Luo, save me. If the sovereign knows that you watched me die, he won't forgive you. He won't forgive you. Bai Mei screamed at Yiqing Luo in a heart-wrenching manner. As long as Yiqing Luo lent a hand, she pushed Yiqing Luo into this dim light. Let Yiqing Luo become the sacrificial offering. But, no matter how she howled at the top of her lungs, pulling at Diamo Xian and Baisu, even so, the girl's expression didn't change in the slightest. Yiqing Luo stood quietly by the side with her arms crossed over her chest. Her beautiful face was calm and indifferent. The corner of her lips curled up, and the sarcasm in her eyes was obvious. Dim light filled the entire ancestral hall. Ah! Bai Mei let out a blood-curdling scream. A dazzling light suddenly flashed. Yiqing Luo only saw an extremely faint shadow in the light, slowly disappearing. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Bai Mei, suddenly, a painful cry was heard from outside the ancestral hall. The main door of the ancestral hall was opened. An illusory shadow swiftly floated in. The dim light that filled the sky and the gradually disappearing shadow were reflected in the eyes of the shadow. Chapter 4482. Bai Mei, that figure floated in midair as it trembled slightly. Immediately after, it flew towards the dim light. Yiqing Luo swung her glower flame fan in time and drew out a profound wave, blocking her path. And it was in this instance. The figure in the resplendent dim light was completely swallowed and disappeared. Bam! A deafening explosion was heard from outside the ancestral hall. The majestic profound wave was unscrupulously colliding in the air. Who is it? Dare to barge into the Gu residence? Looking for death. Men, stop her. Outside the ancestral hall, a commotion was heard. Yiqing Luo could obviously feel the thick profound yin qi filling the entire space. It was the people from the Palace of Darkness. They actually dared to barge into the Gu residence at this juncture? Weren't they afraid that the various powerhouses surrounding the Gu residence would shift their target to the Palace of Darkness? Yiqing Luo looked at Baisu, who was sprawled on the ground as her figure was faintly discernible, as though she was about to be blown away by the wind. She frowned. Bai Mei is already dead. No matter how sad you are, it's no use. If you want to keep your soul, then go somewhere else to be sad. Baisu tilted her head slightly. The gaze which she shot towards Yiqing Luo was filled with a sliver of disapproving coldness. But it was only for a moment. And it was replaced by pain. That smear of coldness, Yiqing Luo took it all in. But she didn't have too many emotions towards this. She only calmly stated the truth. I just don't want Xian to be sad, so I reminded you. Whether you want to go somewhere else to be sad is your own business. After Yiqing Luo finished her words, she didn't bother about Yiqing Luo anymore. Instead, she turned around and looked at the entrance of the ancestral hall. Outside the door, there were about 20 black-robed Palace of Darkness disciples, fighting with the Gu residence's guards. A tall figure speedily rushed in. That person's eyes under the black robe looked deeply at Yiqing Luo. But he didn't have any interaction with her, as he walked directly towards the direction of the table. Yiqing Luo's feet moved, and in a flash she stood in front of that person as she stretched out her hand to stop him. Palace Lord of Secluded Darkness Palace. You should understand the logic of first come first served, right? Don't get involved in the matters of the Bone Palace. The Palace Master of Netherworld Palace stopped in her tracks. Her voice, which had been changed by profound energy, was exceptionally hoarse. Yiqing Luo's brows rose. What a pity, I'm after all the eldest young miss of the Gu residence and I'm already deeply involved in it. Listen to me. This has nothing to do with you. I don't want to hurt you. The Palace Master's tone was a bit depressed. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards. What are the people behind the Secluded Darkness Palace searching for in the Gu residence? If I'm satisfied with your answer, I might consider giving way. The Palace Master of the Netherworld Palace fell silent. Under the black robe, the pair of dark eyes faintly flashed a trace of coldness. Yiqing Luo acutely sensed the change in the other party's emotions. He raised his eyebrows curiously. I haven't seen him for a while. It seemed like something had changed in him. Don't force me. The Palace Master of Netherworld Palace's tone had also sunk. It looked like the person behind the scenes in the Secluded Darkness Palace had sensed him and had repeatedly sent the message to her. Or perhaps, He had helped her several times, which infuriated the person behind the scenes. This was also good, they were originally not on the same line. If she owed too many favors, by then when she stood on the battlefield she would be too embarrassed to go all out. The smile on Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a gorgeous arc. She took a step to the side as she opened up a path. Following that, she tilted her head as she smiled and said, "All right, on account that you've helped me before, I shall not stop you." Chapter 4483. The palace master of the Netherworld Palace looked at her suspiciously for a while, as though he was suspecting what tricks she was up to. "What secrets does the Gu residence have? I don't even know about it. This is all your palace is doing." Yiqing Luo spread out her hands. "I who know nothing, what tricks can I play?" The palace lord remained silent for a moment as he walked towards the table. After 2 steps he turned back to look at Yiqing Luo. Seeing Yiqing Luo's arms crossed, smiling at him, he indeed had no intention to stop her. The brows under the black robe frowned slightly. He didn't hesitate any further as he turned and walked towards the table. The dazzling glow was still flickering. Each and every one of the spirit tablets under that glow seemed to be plated with a layer of yin qi. When he walked over, that dazzling glow didn't engulf him like how it engulfed Bai Mei. It looked like Bai Mei was really a sacrificial offering that the palace lord pushed out. After offering the sacrificial offering, the hidden secret door under the Gu residence's ancestral hall was opened. When the palace lord walked to the place where the glow was, he suddenly stopped as he looked sideways at Yiqing Luo. He stared at Yiqing Luo for a long time. Following that, he spoke in a gloomy voice, "Yiqing Luo, I really don't wish to hurt you, so don't get involved in any matters of the Gu residence." Saying that, his palm pressed on the place where the glow was. Following that, his figure suddenly disappeared before Yiqing Luo's eyes. Yiqing Luo's brows rose. Something that the palace lord needed. Of course she was interested. Only allowed the palace lord to be wary of her things time and time again. Couldn't she snatch the palace lord's things instead? Yiqing Luo started walking towards the place where the glow was. "Yiqing Luo?" Bai Su's ethereal voice was heard from behind. Yiqing Luo stopped and looked at Bai Su. Bai Su slowly straightened up, that beautiful face was haggard and in pain. "She really?" "Right." Yiqing Luo replied without hesitation. "She's dead, dead in front of us." It wasn't because she was cruel. But because of this, Bai Su had to accept the reality. Actually, it was good that Bai Mei died like this. At least she deserved it. There was no one to blame. She did not feel sorry for Bai Su. There was no need to make things difficult for Diamo Xian just because of the relationship between Bai Su and Diamo Xian. "You can save her." Bai Su's voice was hoarse and low. It was so fleeting that if Yiqing Luo didn't listen carefully, she might not be able to hear this sentence. It could be seen that Bai Su was at a loss when she said that. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips as the expression on her face turned solemn. "Yes, I can save her, but why should I save her?" Bai Su didn't know how to answer Yiqing Luo's question. Yiqing Luo continued, "You know very well that I wish for her to die. Because of Ah Xian I will not kill her, but I will not save her either." Although he knew that Yiqing Luo's words were reasonable. However, Bai Su's body still trembled uncontrollably. Yiqing Luo's expression remained calm. "Moreover, you know very well what kind of person your sister is. If I really save her, then the person who died now would be me." How could she not tell that when Bai Mei asked for help, her eyes were filled with schemes and viciousness? When Bai Su heard that, she suddenly raised her head. She opened her mouth to refute. But when the words reached her mouth, there was no way to refute. Chapter 4484. That was right. If Yiqing Luo were to strike, Bai Mei would definitely drag Yiqing Luo to death together. The reason why Bai Mei was able to survive till now was not because of her infatuation with Diamo Xian. Instead, her hatred towards Yiqing Luo. But even if he knew this, he watched as Bai Mei disappeared from his sight. Bai Su still could not calm down. If it wasn't Yiqing Luo's fault, she really wasn't able to be so carefree. "I don't care what you think." Yiqing Luo's expression was very indifferent, without much emotion. "If you feel that hating me can erase the guilt in your heart, then go ahead and hate me." After that, Yiqing Luo didn't care about Bai Su's expression and walked straight towards the dim light. Bai Su's soul sense shook a few times and she wanted to catch up. But in the end he still stopped where he was. He watched as the girl's figure disappeared in the dim light. She squeezed her eyes shut. His heart was beating wildly, unable to find a place to settle down. Her mind was in a mess. It was like a tangled mess. He was unable to sort out his thoughts. Yiqing Luo's words were like a curse as it kept replaying in his mind. She was unable to refute any of Yiqing Luo's words. While he was in a trance, Baisu did not notice that a wisp of black aura was slowly approaching her. In an instant, it fused with her soul consciousness. Baisu only felt that the suffocation in her heart was even more intense. It was as if something was oppressing her emotions. Baisu. Suddenly, a voice rang out from behind her. A man's magnificent figure appeared in front of her. Only then did Baisu come to her senses. She raised her head in a daze and met the man's obsidian eyes. She couldn't help but shiver. Di-Zun, where's little Luo? Diamo Xian's brows creased tightly as he surveyed the surroundings. In the air there was the scent of Lil Luo air. There was also the residual power of her Shen wave. Baisu was about to say something. Suddenly a voice rang out in his mind. She's dead. She died in front of us. Yes, I can save her, but why should I? You know very well that I want her dead. You know very well that I want her dead. You know very well that I want her dead. The girl's extremely cold voice made Baisu's soul sense tremble uncontrollably. Diamo Xian furrowed his brows and handed over the jade pendant he used to nurture his spirit consciousness. Baisu, what's wrong? I'm fine. Baisu snapped out of her trance and took the jade pendant. Following that, his eyelids drooped slightly as his voice drifted and couldn't be heard clearly. I rushed over to chase after Bai Mei. I didn't see Yiqing Luo. Diamo Xian's expression congealed as he scanned the surroundings suspiciously. He seemed to be confirming something. Until his eyes were about to look in the direction of the table. Baisu suddenly said anxiously, Ah, yes, just now I saw the palace master of the Palace of Darkness. He was outside and I followed him to this ancestral hall. But when I arrived he was gone. Palace master of the Netherworld Palace? Diamo Xian's brows creased even more tightly. Everyone could see that. That palace master on the surface had feelings for Yiqing Luo. Let's look around. You've set up an enchantment here, so they must still be in the Gu residence. Baisu suggested. Diamo Xian took a look at Baisu. In the end he followed Baisu out of the ancestral hall. I'm still writing. Don't mess with my babies, let's read it tomorrow morning. Mwah. End of this chapter. Chapter 4485. After leaving, Diamo Xian couldn't help but turn his head back and swept a glance at the ancestral hall. He somehow felt that there was Lil Luo'er's presence here. Could it be an illusion? But when he turned back, Diamo Xian didn't discover it. When he walked out of the ancestral hall, his spirit consciousness lowered its head slightly. A wisp of extremely faint black energy was slowly dispersing in his eyes. On the other side, under the flickering light, Yiqing Luo closed her eyes from the piercing. When she opened her eyes again, she was no longer in the ancestral hall. The bustling noises beside her made her dig her ears uncontrollably. What entered her eyes was an extremely bustling street. The surroundings were filled with hawkers and commoners. People came and went, flourishing and prosperous. What place was this? Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes as she looked around in a daze. What? Did she feel that this place was a little familiar? It seemed like she had seen it somewhere before. But it seemed different. Coincidentally, a commoner walked past her. Yiqing Luo pulled him back. May I know where this place is? That person looked at Yiqing Luo strangely, but when his gaze met Yiqing Luo's devastatingly beautiful face, his face flushed red. Miss, this is the West Continent's Three Springs city. Yiqing Luo? Miss, are you an outsider? I am from Three Springs City. If Miss wants to know what is happening in Three Springs City, I can help you. That person looked at Yiqing Luo in a daze. Yiqing Luo swallowed a mouthful of saliva as she stared at that person and said word by word, Say it again, where is this place? West Continent. Three Springs City. That person was shocked by Yiqing Luo as he replied in a taut voice. This time Yiqing Luo was completely dumbfounded. No wonder she felt that this place was familiar. Wasn't this the West Continent's Three Springs City? But this place was very different from the Three Springs City in her memory. Many of the houses and buildings were different from the geographical location in her memory. Could it be that it changed after she left Three Springs City? That's not right. If this was really Three Springs City, How was it possible that no one recognized her? No matter what, she had caused quite a lot of trouble in Three Springs City. How strange. The thing that the Palace of Gloomy Darkness had spent so much effort to find in the Ancestral Hall was a teleportation formation? A teleportation array that could send people back to the West Continent? Did Gloomy Palace have to go through so much trouble just for a teleportation formation? No, that's not right. Why would the teleportation formation of the Shilan continent be in the Ancestral Hall of the Gu residence? Things were definitely not that simple. Yiqing Luo felt that her brain wasn't enough as she pulled that person and asked, "Where is the location of Three Springs Sect now?" Since he was back in Three Springs City, he would go home to take a look. It had been a long time since she last saw Yi Fengyu and the others. Hearing Yiqing Luo's question, that person was stunned. What Three Springs Sect? In Three Springs City, there's no place called Three Springs Sect. Oh. When Yiqing Luo heard that, she was instantly stunned. She thanked that person and pulled a few more people over to ask the same question. None of them had any impression of the Three Springs Sect. Yiqing Luo realized that something was amiss. She hurriedly walked in the direction of the Three Springs Sect according to her memories. However, when he reached his destination, in front of him was not the Three Springs Sect's mansion as he remembered, but a barren mountain. The surroundings weren't the bustling streets in her memories, but an endless, barren land. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.